like you're losing track. I know your heart bleeds. Don't lose your mind. Just let it be, let it be. Know you're dying inside. I know it gets harder. Days get longer. But close your eyes. It's gonna be alright. I know it gets harder. Days get longer. But close your eyes. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. I know it gets harder. Days get longer. Close your eyes. It's gonna be alright. I know it gets harder. Days get longer. But close your eyes. It's gonna be alright. Don't look back. Know you feel like you're losing track.
Hello and welcome into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. It's the end of championship week here for Boise State Esports. It started last week with our own Wasey Williams picking up back-to-back Madden National Championships, carried over to Rocket League and Valorant, who had their shots earlier this week, and it will wrap up here tonight with a pair of chances for the Boise State Overwatch team to come home and end the season with 2 championships of their own. I'm Michael Fisher, joined by Brenner Bear Ladd to call all of our action here. We'll start with the play versus. We'll have our semifinals and our championship, and then we will wrap up the night with the NECC championship before Boise State. But we're starting with Boise State and Bryant Stratton. And Brenner, this is one of the interesting ones. Bryant Stratton actually the underdog, and they upset Becker, who was coached by the exact same coach, the coach of the Boise State Overwatch team. So maybe not a team Boise State had as much prep for, so it's going to be curious to see if Bryant Stratton has some sort of cheesy strat, some sort of underdog strat, because I know talking with the Boise State coaches, looking at some of those predicted brackets that they were putting together, no one expected this team to be in the semifinals. So who knows how much information Boise State truly has on this underdog Bryant Stratton.
Yeah, it's definitely something we'll have to keep an eye out for. We know we have our traditional defensive strat on Kings Road, the most played map in this game. So that might throw them off. They do have a lot of footage of us playing it, so they may have learned how to deal with that. But once again, we always have that trick up our sleeves of the pharmacy, or like I mentioned, that Kings Road strat. So it's definitely something we're going to have to keep in mind going in up against this team.
Yeah, and the other thing to keep an eye out for would just be how much is Bryant Stratton, maybe in over their head. We see it in a lot of other tournaments. You see this underdog go on a big run, and then they eventually go up against the big dogs. Boise State is the #1 seed, and the game ends up being kind of a wash, because it just ends up being, yeah, heart can do a lot, upsets, when you believe in yourself, that can go a long way, but eventually it comes down to gun skill. And we've seen so far in this tournament, we had the quarterfinals and in the round of 16 earlier this week being broadcast. Boise State was just kind of rolling over teams. So I'll be really curious to see. Boise State has to make sure they respect Bryant Stratton. That's been a thorn in Boise State's side time and time. We started off, though, with 62 teams. We went through a 7-week regular season. Boise State was undefeated, 7-0, the only team there, and that's why they are the #1 seed. It is a best of 5 in the playoffs going on right now. We will crown a champion later tonight for Boise State. First, they got to get past Brian Stratton, though, Brenner, so we'll see. It is interesting, though. Not only is Boise State the 1 seed, they also have determined in the play versus that the higher seed gets to pick the first map every single time, which will always be Boise State as the 1 seed. If they make the championship, they'll still pick it. So that is going to go a long way into giving Boise State an advantage because they get to start off with a control map that they feel most comfortable on. So Bryant Stratton is already playing into Boise State's strength.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a back foot for Stratton there, especially because during these practices weeks, they could be playing it out. Since they are the number 1 seed, they could be like, all right, here's the map, here's the strat we're going to practice on, and we're just going to nail it. Because then the other team has to say, all right, what map are they going to pick? And they have to make that guess, and then how to counteract it. We saw with the orange team, they try to meet the strat and just beat them at it. So maybe blue's going to do that and just roll over them, or maybe they're going to pull out something unique that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see what we see here in our semifinal match. Game number 1, it's Boise State and Bryant Stratton. The Bobcats, the Cinderella so far in the tournament. The other side of the bracket is all chalk, where Akron and University of North Texas will be playing to play the winner of this game and see if Boise State Overwatch can claim their first of what could be 2 championships here tonight. But before we get into the game, we do have Doc's keys in Overwatch. Never take a fair fight. What does that mean? Take fights in unexpected places when they are unprepared and when you can have ability advantages. It's all brought to you by Count, whose Identity Trust Global Network delivers real-time fraud prevention, account protection, enables a personalized customer experience for more than 9,000 leading brands and payment providers. If you want to stay safe online, go check them out at count.com, Count.com. Getting ready to head in. Play versus semifinal. Game number 1. Fish and Brenner Bear here to call all of the action. We'll start on control, but Boise State gets picked. I think it'll be Lijiang. I know that's what the Broncos have said is one of their favorite maps, and we'll see what Brian Stratton has up their sleeve. I mean, Boise State did pick it, earlier this week, so maybe Bryant Stratton was keeping an eye on. And as I mentioned, while this is an underdog team that maybe Boise State didn't scout, they do have the advantage of, as I mentioned, the Overwatch coach for Becker University, who actually got upset by Bryant Stratton in the round of the quarterfinals, also coaches Boise State. So they kind of got a first-hand look of exactly how Bryant Stratton plays. So that could play in Boise State's favor as well, and they could just roll right into the championship.
Yes, definitely something to keep in mind. And as you mentioned, Lijiang Tower is a favorite here at Boise State. We definitely have a ton of experience on it, so that's definitely going to benefit us in hopefully the long run here as we hopefully jump into this first game.
Yeah, can't wait to see how this game goes out. Does look like Assault should be second, so it will be a little bit of a change. Usually Assault is the, redheaded stepchild of the Overwatch matches and usually nestled in very last in Game 4. Of course, with Overwatch 2, it is eventually just going to be straight up removed, so I'll be curious to see how the teams play on it. But there we go. It's on to Lijiang, and we'll see what Boise State wants to do here with the blue squad setting up against Bryant Stratton.
Yeah, so definitely have to keep an eye on what strats these teams are running. It looks like we're going to have the double bubble for the side of Boise State, with Bryant going for a little bit of a mobility comp with a side of Orisa. No team even going for the teleporter with the Bastion up top. It looks like they might even rushing for a point. At least Bryant has that pharmacy, but Boise State, Plato on that. McCree's definitely going to have to contest it the best he can with Goblin on a Sombra now. Have to see if that hack will be able to pay off as we jump into this first match.
Yeah, I would be curious to see if we maybe see Goblin just kind of go back to spawn and switch it off there, because that Sombra is not going to have a lot of fun with the Junkrat spam or the Pharmacy spam down. As we see Boise State right now trading out just a little bit of damage. The Broncos sustaining quite a bit. They want to get underneath the tower to just try and limit the damage Everlong could do, but there's the first elimination for Bryant Stratton. Boise State's going to try and retreat. Guac will be taken out as well, and now down 2. Boise State's going to have to be very careful, especially without a main tank, and I'm shocked that Goblin's still sticking on to this Sombra for now. They do get 1. The res immediately comes out. They're not able to punish the Mercy. Finally, they do take down Tetsuo, but Boise State losing more members than they could sustain, and they're just going to have to retreat as they're going to lose Bagel as well in a battle of the Lucios. They get a hack onto Cole the Crazy, but unfortunately that's about all that's going Boise State's way.
Yeah, the Sombra into this enemy comp right now is not the best pick here. Yes, she can see the low health members. Yes, she can hack, but there's no real main targets for that hack. Yes, you can hack the Fire, but she'll still be able to glide around with her Pocket Mercy. Yes, you can hack the Wrecking Ball, but he's still very mobile and has a pretty solid damage output for a tank. As we see Boise State come in, they do have the wall going into this fight, so they're going to activate immediately. And we even see the hack onto the enemy Junkrat, so he can't even use the tire he just now got. We're going to see Mines and Tire come out from the side of Bryant as we see Guac eliminated from that tire, with Everlong then immediately taking out Large Bagel. It looks like Boise State is already going to have to back off this push.
Yeah, they are able to take down OBL. That's all they're going to get, though. All those minefields on the point, as you mentioned. Boise State's probably just going to have to retreat. They're close to the EMP, but they're going to have to deal with a Supercharger and a Valkyrie as well. A pick here for Plato would be huge. He gets a headshot onto Fabian, but not enough to take him down. Boise State's got to rush onto the point. They got to be careful. There's a rocket barrage up for Everlong as well. Boise State's trying to watch for him. Huge pick by Ace, who ends up getting the headshot. Can they punish the Mercy with the res? There's the EMP. Only going to land onto 2 for Boise State, but they are going to be able to boot 1 off the edge. Unfortunately, Large Bagel will fall down as well. A little bit of karma there for him, but Boise State, huge hack onto Cole the Crazy, shutting down that sound barrier as well. And that is going to be Goblin on a champion that you and I maybe, thought wouldn't work out, making a back-to-back huge plays for Boise State.
Yeah, this next push is going to be very vital for Boise State as well, with Bryant having 4 ults going into it, possibly 5 with Tyre right behind. And they have the Mercy Res to bring back a member if they lose it very early on in the fight, which is something Goblin's definitely going to have to keep an eye out for. Same with Kel on that Diva, as he's been trying to disrupt it the best he can. So this next upcoming fight could determine this first point, with Bryant at the 83%. We're going to see an early elimination onto OLB, so at least they don't have mines going to this fight. We do see Tyre come out, but is quickly eliminated by Kel, so good on Kel for noticing and seeing that coming in without Tyre even activating early on before the death. We're going to see both the Amplification Matrix and Sound Barrier come out on both sides. Diva Bomb was unable to get anything as she flew it in, but we still have Deadeye and Boise State Sound Barrier on the sidelines. We're going to see Plato able to get at least 1 pick with the data and a boop off the edge, but a quick res comes out with QBL even suiciding off the edge. Goblin getting 1 more boop, and it looks like Boise State won this fight.
Yeah, Brian Stratton had 5 ults available, just unfortunately did not execute them in a proper fashion. OBL getting picked off there was a huge start. There's an EMP up for Goblin. He can maybe shut down that rocket barrage. Also a minefield and a supercharger up, but there's no sound barrier, and a Large Bagel has his. So Goblin's looking for a spot. There, he's going to find it, going to get it onto 3. Immediately is taken out, though. Fabian will fall. Cole the Crazy is the next target. Boise State's going to pick up at least 2. Charge coming in, not able to pin anybody. And Boise State, unfortunately, is going to have to win 1 more fight here if they want this first match.
Yeah, it was definitely a good EMP. We only saw an even trade there. And we did see mines come out as well behind the team, but it got no value for his team, as we do see the Bongo come out as well, trying to get his team to get pushed out of that opening. But a lot of members falling behind half health, with Guac even eliminating that Orisa. So losing their main tank early on is not the best, but we're going to see a double elimination come out from the side of Bryant, make it a quad with even Battle Mercy. So all down to Guac, try to hold this point. It looks like he's going to just have to back off, even though he gets the pin onto the Wrecking Ball, tries to take one out with him.
Boise State might have 1 last contest. They did swap off the Lucio, though, which is going to hurt their ability to speed onto the point. Goblin should be able to get there in stealth on Sombra long enough to contest. He will be immediately taken out, though. Plato's going to have to land a huge Deadeye here to try and get Boise State back on it. He's looking for something onto OBL, gets line of sight. And unfortunately, the power of the Deadeye is not going to be with Boise State. They're going to have to come in for a last-second contest. Shatter only lands onto Fabian. But Boise State needs more than just 1-for-1 trades, as Plato does get taken out, and looks like with the minefields dropped, Boise State, unfortunately, they just lost the fight at a very inopportune time. And Bryant Stratton, the underdog, is going to pick up map number 1.
Yeah, the Sombra was a questionable pick, and Brian's OBL on that Wrecking Ball got a lot of mines and was able to zone out Boise State multiple times. Yes, he was eliminated early on a couple times, but he, on that Wrecking Ball, was able to return so quickly in that pharmacy, was able to get a lot of picks onto the back line. And same with Fabian, just lobbing the Junkrat grenades, taking out the shield as quick as he could. So now Boise State swapping it up, going to the Echo and Ana and the Brig. And even with the Winston swap over now. So it looks like they're going for more of a high mobility comp to try to deal with this double bubble that Bryant has right now.
I'm going to be curious to see how they plan on dealing with that pharmacy with Goblin now on the Echo. Still going to be a little harder than, if you went double hit scan to deal with that far up in the air. And she was a thorn in Boise State's side to start. We'll see here as Guac immediately gets taken out. Unfortunately, no answer right now. Everlong takes a bit of damage. Goblin sitting on just 22 HP. Finally does get healed back up. But Boise State, much like we just saw in map number 1, they picked Lijiang Tower, but Bryant Stratton was ready for it, and they've shut down Boise State so far early.
Yeah, this pharmacy has been causing a lot of problems with those boops even coming in, eliminating Guac so early on. And Goblin on this Echo is going to have a very hard time. You know, this pharmacy got the Pocket Mercy. It's a lot to contest with, as we see both Goblin and Guac able to eliminate them together, with Cal able to even pick up a double on point. So it looks like Boise State won this next team fight, bringing it back together, not getting picked off early, moving as a team. So Bryant now coming back, but they do have the ult percentage benefit. They should have also Nano if she's able to farm it quick enough. So this upcoming fight might go to the way of Boise if Anna isn't eliminated and gets that Nano off.
Yeah, and if Boise State just hides in on the point, as we saw there, you can force that Mercy and that far into a position where they don't have as much of a skybox to work with, and we can see them immediately eliminated. There's the Nano. It's going to go right on to Guac. He'll punch down Fabian to start things out. He's trying to work towards that Primal Rage as the Nano is about to fall. He's not going to be able to get it, though. Boise State still does pick up one. Cold Crazy is incredibly low. Tetsuo's finally taken out. Now there's no supports left for Bryant Stratton. Boise State will lose Goblin, but 3 for 1 is more than enough for Boise State to pick up this second fight.
Yeah, Goblin in the backline causing as much havoc as he could, able to eliminate both supports before they were even able to get around to their tanks. But now Bryant does have the ult advantage coming into this next fight with the Valkyrie, the Deadeye, the Mines, and the Primal Rage, with Boise State only having that Deadeye, Rally, and Bomb, but they're going to get 2 more right in as we start off the fight with all 2 ults coming out from Boise State, the Rally and the Deadeye. Deadeye only picking up 1, and the quick trade between the two McCrees is Plato losing that as the Deadeye comes out from Fabian, takes out Goblin, with Guac able to get a boop onto Fabian right off the edge for that revenge. But now with Brian bringing out the Tracer and Brig of their own, it looks like they're going for a bit more of the fight on point team.
Cold Crazy trying to contest as long as possible, will eventually get taken out. Bryant Stratton did flip the point, though. It was a great Primal Rage there from Narwhal. It's going to heal him from 10%. And allow Bryant Stratton to rack up some more percentage on this point. And they're going to take down Plato and a large Bagel as well. Kel's got to be careful. Does have the Diva Bomb available if he maybe wants to try and make a play on point. Goblin's going to duplicate onto that Winston. There's the Diva Bomb that's going to come out, but Cold Crazy did drop down the sound barrier. Unfortunately, Narwhal gets picked off by the Diva Bomb. Everlong barely prevents the remake, and with that buff, that would have definitely one-shot that Tracers. The remake now doing 250 damage for Diva in the area. Absolutely insane. We saw quite a few players in our first game after the patch just get one-shot by it. As the Nano lands on to Guac and Boise State, they haven't flipped the point yet. They're consistently winning, but Bryant Stratton is doing just enough, throwing member after member onto the payload, that they're going to come very, very close to equaling Boise State's percent before the Broncos can flip it.
Yeah, this point is much closer than the previous map that we just watched, so hopefully Boise State will be able to pull it back after that first match as we see Cal get an early elimination onto Fabian, taking out one of their damages, with Plato now swapping over to the Reaper, able to take out QBL, and Cal managing to take out the Brig. So it looks like Boise State should have this fight, but with the brawl going on, they're going all in on that Narwhal because Winston on the point is able to just go back and forth. As we see a little cleaning up from Boise State on Bryant, with QBL just trying to hold it. We see the sleep perfectly nail onto Fabian, who's dead-eyeing. So great on a large Bagel, able to hit that.
That was a perfect sleep. He just peeked around the corner, knew exactly where he was from. Excellent play there. Boise State still has not flipped this. Bryant Stratton was at 10% when Boise State won a fight, but they have just been basically suiciding on point long enough that Boise State cannot lose another fight, or Bryant Stratton will go up 1-0 in the semifinal.
Yeah, and I really got to praise Plato on the swap to Reaper. That double tank on point, just able to go all the way around and stall for as long as they can. So going the anti-Narwhal QBL was definitely a good, smart pick. And Goblin still on this Echo, able to rain hell from above, definitely has been putting them on their back foot. So they have to keep going that left side, which forces them directly into the Reaper and Primal Rage. As we say, the Death Blossom even come out with 3 members of Bryant already down. It looks like Boise State won this team fight and possibly the round with just now nearing the 100% mark.
And Narwhal with that Primal Rage should be able to contest it. OBL would be able to get back the point quickly if needed. But Narwhal's going to get taken out, so now Bryant Stratton, they're going to try and stall as long as possible, but they're just throwing members at the point. Once again, padding Boise State stat, there's a minefield and a rally. OBL actually picks up 2. Absolutely huge play from that Wrecking Ball, already down in a 4v6, and now Boise State looks like they're on the verge of potentially losing this first map as Bryant Stratton absolutely comes in with a great stall. Goblin falls off the point. He's going to have to fly in to try and stall it out, but he's not able to get there in time, and Bryant Stratton excellent just stall tactics. The stats are going to favor Boise State 100% on that map, but Bryant Stratton and the Bobcats play it spectacularly, and they win game number 1.
Yeah, as soon as they swapped back to that far, they started winning that team fight. You saw QBL get the double kill with his mines, and they just really pulled it back together. This engagement really early on, he forced him into the left side corner, and he was able to get some early eliminations, with Goblin even using the swap onto the Wrecking Ball to cause as much havoc. But once they started trickling in, they swapped over to their comfort picks, and they were able to win that team fight.
Yeah, they just were able to continuously filter onto that point, going from 10% to 95 and putting it in a spot where Boise State could not afford to lose a single map. And that was an excellent play by Bryant Stratton, the underdogs here. Starting out very strong in this best-of-5 play versus semifinal, maybe going to make the upset of the tournament if they're able to take down Boise State, who, as we mentioned, was undefeated in the regular season. But now Boise State's going to get map choice once again. They picked Lijiang Tower as well, and Bryant Stratton matched them toe-to-toe. So I'll be curious what Boise State has in mind. I believe this is going to be Assault coming up next. I'll be curious. I mean, it's a mode that we don't see a whole lot. A lot of tournaments put it forth. If you get a 3-0, you never see it. We even have like the NECC, which championship game's coming up tonight. They don't even play Assault. So I'll be very, very curious to see exactly what map is picked by Boise State.
Yeah, it's something we'll have to keep an eye on, and you can tell Bryant's definitely done their research and put Boise State on their back foot, losing that first map. So you have to think what's going through the players' minds as we just lost our first map. As an undefeated team, we have to step it up. We have to respect that. They know what they're doing, and they're going to be a formidable opponent for us.
Looks like Boise State will pick Anubis, which has been the most popular Assault map by far. Definitely can be a very, very interesting map, as we have seen teams with 5+ minutes on the clock take all 5 of those minutes to eventually cap point number B. And it is definitely plays into the snowbally part of Assault that players love to hate, because if you get that first point and you can roll on to second and get maybe a tick or two, that is huge, because the respawns are just so close for the defenders on B that if you're trading 1 for 1 or even like 2 for 1 at times as a DPS, it just feels bad because your team can't win because the respawns are just so absolutely absurdly defender favored. So I'll be curious to see if a team maybe gets A quickly and then absolutely just kind of slogs down and gets stuck trying to get B, because it is so hard to repeatedly siege B because of how quickly the defenders can respawn and just get a toe on the point.
Yeah, and with the pharmacy that Bryant also has, you have to keep an eye out for that, but it looks like they're not even going to run it, so we'll have to keep... No, they are going to run it. Perfect. So we swap over here with them on, I believe, the defending side. Yes. So the pharmacy's going to definitely have to keep an eye on, with Goblin even swapping over to the Widowmaker. Would have liked to see the Ash there, which the Dynamite can definitely rain hell from above. But it looks like Brian's going to go with the Ash. So the contention with even sniping and then also the pharmacy, Goblin's going to have a rough time here.
Yeah, Goblin's going to have a lot of bullets flying his way on that Widowmaker when he tries to peek around the corner. I'll be curious to see if maybe Plato tries to sneak into the back line and cause some havoc on Fabian. We saw he was kind of posted up all the way on top of the point, as immediately OBL is going to throw some damage out. Goblin's looking for anything he can. They took Fabian to about 50%, but he should be healed up no problem. And now this is the hardest part. Without a May especially, Boise State's going to have a lot of poke that they're going to have to sneak past. Guac already does, but OBL's going to jump right in on the back line. Everlong now looking for some value, as Plato's still trying to find anybody he can. Goblin with a great starting headshot, but they can't stop the revive, so that elimination basically does nothing for Boise State, and that is the issue. If you can't stop the Mercy, it doesn't really matter if you get a pick onto the far.
Yeah, as I mentioned, this pharmacy is going to be a huge problem, with Boise State having to commit a lot just to eliminate them, but with a early triple, it looks like they're going to be able to push to point with very few healers still on the side of Bryant. It looks like we're even going to see Bryant swap up, and it looks like they're giving this first point.
Yeah, this is a great start for Boise State. Goblin immediately got a headshot out of Fabian, and they also were able to kill Tatsuo after he got the revive off, and that was a great start for Boise State. Does look like Bryant Stratton will get a little bit more defensive here. They're going to swap over to the Torbjorn and the Brig. And Boise State sticking with their comp all the same. Goblin, he won't even throw out the infrared sight. He'll just swap over to the Ash. And Boise State will see if they can snowball with this alt advantage in terms of percent on most of their heroes, if they can snowball in at least get a tick or two.
Yeah, you got to keep that momentum going, unless you want to sit out for an all siege of these last 5 minutes and 30 seconds. But with an elimination on the Guac already, losing out your main tank, it's going to set them back. So it looks like we're setting in for the siege.
Yeah, Boise State will have their ults predominantly first, besides Narwhal, who should be able to get a supercharger up, so it's going to be paramount. Boise State does take that out, but Large Bagel gets picked. He gets immediately revived. He has the nano available if he just wants to throw it onto Guac and have that Winston charge right onto the point, but you can see already how hard it can be when a team gets set up. There's that nano, going to go right onto Guac. OBL hit with an anti, so he's not able to heal. Guac able to just barely stay alive, but Boise State's immediately going to lose 2 more as they try and siege in, and that's unfortunately just going to be a wasted nano. They get the Valkyrie from Asu as well, but a supercharger comes down from Narwhal, and Boise State's just going to be forced to reset with just 1 pick to show for it.
Yeah, and with those used ults, we're going to see a Large Bagel swap over to Lucio, with Plato swapping over to the Reaper for a bit more of the close-range brawl that they're going to need to win this point, especially with so many members coming back from those quick spawns, as you mentioned early on. So Kel on this grab is definitely going to be something to keep an eye on this next push.
Yeah, there's no the rally up for Bryant Stratton, only at 44%. They'd have the nano, and that's about it to defend against that grab. They also have a Primal Rage, and Bob could potentially be online for Goblin as well. So this could be a fight favoring Boise State, but you got to watch out for that nano and that Molten Core. Gok's going to jump in. There is the nano. Going to be thrown out there. Looks like it landed onto Tetsuo. They're trying to build that rally as fast as possible. Grab comes down, but unfortunately, same story for Boise State. They commit the ult. They only get 1. They lose 2 in the process. Trying to take down Cole the Crazy, not quite able to do it. And Boise State, unfortunately, feels like they've had ult advantage, just never been able to capitalize, and now that rally's online.
Yeah, it seems when they try to commit so much, they're just not getting enough value out of it. You constantly keep saying they're getting 2-for-1s. That's just not what you want to see, especially on attacking. You want to have it the other way around because they have spawn advantage. You have to be able to deal with the constant stream of enemies coming out of that spawn. And right now it seems like Boise State doesn't have an answer for that, even with Bob online.
Bob is the only thing they have. Is Guac and Kel going to swap over to the Rhine and the Diva. You see Goblin maybe taking the Doc's keys to the game into mind, looking for an unfair fight. Bob's going to get called in, trying to find a flank. Dynamite's going to go out. Huge damage, burning down Bryant Stratton. Tetsuo goes down before he can get the rally off. There's a whole hog that gets immediately stopped as a double kill from the Dynamite comes out. Molten Core in a last-ditch effort for Everlong to save the point. Boise State's got to be careful as Goblin nearly burns to death. But Boise State's going to be able to wrap this one up with a great flank from Goblin, and that's why it's always in Doc's keys to the game.
Yeah, it really is. That came in huge strides for Boise State. That behind Bob really set them on their back foot when they were putting so much pressure on that front door. And then immediately with the double Dynamite elimination, really good on Boise State for recognizing and getting that flank because they were not watching their right side at all.
And we see what Bryant Stratton can do. Boise State pretty much rolled to the first point and then still took them quite a while to get to the second point. But any capture for Bryant Stratton gives them a chance, but you see 3 minutes in the bank for overtime means Boise State would be quite favored unless Bryant Stratton can roll just as hard. And I'll be curious to see if they want to bring out that pharmacy comp once again that they've had moderate success with, or if they have a different plan, as I would assume Goblin will go back to that Widowmaker because he absolutely wreaked havoc when that pharmacy was on defense.
Yeah, both Widow or Ash would do great here. As we saw, he's clearly great at both, with that Ash getting a lot more value, I would say, than the Widowmaker, as he wasn't even able to get his visor up. So hopefully going into this defensive strat, they'll be able to hold a lot longer. But it looks like Bryant's going to even bring out the Echo this time, something we haven't seen as they usually run the Pharmacy. They're going to bring out their own Widowmaker as well to try to contest Goblin, but it looks like they're going with the Torb here, with Plato now swapping over to the Ash.
Yeah, be curious to see if Fabian's able to get as much value as Goblin did. Goblin got that starting headshot onto the far, and then I believe took out the Ash, and then it was pretty much all over, and Bryant Stratton just kind of rolled over and let Boise State capture that first point. So a lot of pressure on Fabian to get a ton of value. No early contest here for Boise State. Dynamite's going to miss from Plato. And Boise State all grouped up right on top of each other. They've gotten quite a bit of damage already on top of them, as OBL is going to try and sneak behind. Boise State's got to be careful as that Wrecking Ball has wreaked havoc, and just like that, he takes down Guac. Could be an opening, and some Dynamite does land. Fabian nearly gets shot down from his perch, but OBL's causing a big havoc there. Takes on the Immortality Field as well. They get the revive, but immediately Asu will fall. Plato gets one onto Cole the Crazy. He's going to try and take out the Mercy. He will. There's no supports up for Bryant Stratton, but everybody else is still alive. Boise State running in with respawns, but those 2 picks on the support should be enough for Boise State to be able to contest the lack of healing that Bryant Stratton's going to have.
Yeah, already Boise doing much better on the defense here than Bryant did it, because that entire first fight just lasted for so long that they were able to just sustain it out. And especially with the negative respawns on the side of the defenders, Boise State really holding it out. But now Goblin swapping over to the Widow and losing the 1v1 there. So now, once again, it is down to Plato to hold this DPS role.
Well, Cal gets hit with an anti. He's got to be incredibly careful. He's going to come around the corner and be able to heal back up. Immortality Field does go down. Everlong's able to take out Asu. Fabian's incredibly low. There's a hook. Narwhal going to try and run away from the whole hog. Another great sleep. We have seen a ton of great sleep darts from these Anas on both sides as Cole the Crazy lands that one. Tetsuo incredibly low. He will be taken out. There's no res available, but unfortunately, Boise State is down 2 already. Goblin evens the score before getting taken out himself, and it looks like Bryant Stratton, a little bit harder than Boise State, should be able to wrap this point up. Guac's going to contest as much as he can on this Wrecking Ball. The Supercharger goes down, but I think Bryant Stratton should be able to wrap this one up in short order as long as they're able to pick their targets. Guac's incredibly low. He will be taken out, and I would assume the rest of Boise State is just going to let them take this point as Cal gets taken down, and Bryant Stratton, no, Boise State's going to keep contesting. Finally, they'll back off here in 5 minutes on the clock for the Bobcats.
Yeah, I think at that point they were just trying to stall for time and get the respawn advantage rather than walk all the way back and even get the hero swaps as well. But going into this next fight, if they are going to try to go for the snowball, they do have ult advantage going into this with Boise State only having the amplification matrix up. That could make all the difference going in if they play it right. But with Fabian getting an early pick onto a large bagel, eliminating that amp matrix, they're just going to dive right in even with the mines.
And Nano's going to go out on Everlong, who duplicated onto that Tracer. Bob will get called in. Boise State has already nearly given up 1 tick, and they will as a Pulse Bomb takes down Asu. Bob will get taken out. Boise State's got to be careful. Goblin on the back line, able to take down Fabian. The revive does come out from Tetsuo. Boise State trying to gun down that Mercy. Will rewind there for Goblin. Does get the Mercy. Looks like they'll have to give up at least 2 ticks to Bryant Stratton. But Boise State has stabilized enough with that respawn that they're only going to give up 2, and Bryant Stratton's going to have 1 more push, and it looks like Boise State might be the winners if we head to overtime in terms of time left.
Yeah, Goblin getting a little aggressive right there at the end, getting picked off by Fabian. Just stay back in your spawn where you're safe. You have the cover of walls as he was getting revenge for the earlier pick. He did miss that pulse bomb, which was sad to see on both supports, but wasn't able to eliminate them as they were trying to run away with no support for the side of their team. So going into the next fight, you definitely have to watch the ults from Guac on the side for mines. Looks like Bryant's also going to have Valkyrie if she's able to get it just in time with their mines right behind it. Goblin's also getting very close to the pulse bomb with a quick engagement on the right side. Looks like they're going all in on the right, but with Plato getting a triple on the side, it looks like Bryant's already going to have to go for the reset here.
Yeah, that was a huge 3-man ante from a large bagel that absolutely shut down the strategy for the Bobcats. And like I said, we have seen some fantastic Ana play so far in this game as Asu does get the res off. Goblin looking for a flank, does have the pulse bomb available, so if he's able to pick off a support, this could shut down Bryant Stratton. They have no idea he's there. He's going to hop right onto Cole the Crazy, but a huge sleep dart. He's able to rewind. He'll throw a pulse bomb out, gets a pick onto Fabian. Still gets a ton of value. Everlong's forced to blink away. And now we get the nausea-inducing Tracer versus Tracer battle as Goblin's just trying to distract as long as possible. Looks like Bryant Stratton has realized that. They're going to push forward. And they're finally able to take down Goblin, but that burned about a solid 20-30 seconds off the clock, and Goblin will respawn before the Bobcats even siege the point.
Yeah, so even if Bryant is able to even this up, at least Boise State has the time advantage now. As they slowly push in, we did see an anti go onto both tanks with Guac being eliminated by 4 members, but then a quick triple comes out for the side of Boise State. So already Bryant has lost a lot of force behind this push.
Yeah, Boise State has the Bob available, but you see Bryant Stratton looks like they might be building up for one of those classic 6 alt, press Q at the same time, and just hold W strats as they have 3 available. The Deadeye and the Nano should be coming online very shortly. It's up to just Tetsuo to get that rally, so Boise State's got to be careful. They're only going to have 3 alts of their own to answer, but that Diva Bomb from Kel could absolutely shatter the strategy if Bryant Stratton just tries to run down the point.
And Plato's got Bob. We know the scariness of Bob being able to get the triple last round, but with Goblin getting an early elimination onto the Ana, looks like Bryant's already down to support, and they don't even have the Mercy res for it, but Nano was used before he lost his life, so at least Bryant got that value out of it. We're also going to see Bob come out here, see if he's going to be able to get as much value as he did last game with Guac getting the elimination on the Orisa, and Bob gets 1 onto the QBL. So no tanks on the side of Bryant. They're going to have to reset for this pretty much final push with only a minute remaining.
Yeah, they nanoed onto the brig to try and get that rally up, so they're going to have 5 ults to throw at Boise State. The Broncos can only counter with 2 of their own, and depending how the fight goes, maybe Guac's able to pick up that minefield, as Everlong's already taken incredibly low. As Goblin looking for another flank, has the pulse bomb if he's able to land something, but he's right now just burning time. And Bryant Stratton looks like they're going to group up here for their final push to try and send us to overtime. Time's not going to be on their side. Pulse Bomb's going to take out the Supercharger and Fabian. That is absolutely huge, but a Pulse Bomb and a Minefield combined for 2 more. Rally does come out. Every ult's been committed except for that Deadeye on the side of Bryant Stratton. They're trying to siege Boise State, but those 1-for-1 trades are not going to work. Kel still has the Diva Bomb. Looking for an option to place it down. Nano will go out onto him. And he's not going to use the bomb just yet. Probably waiting for a quick mech reset. Mines do go down from Guac as there's the final fight here. They trade 1-for-1. Narwhal taking a ton of damage. Everlong's over there as well. Kel's just going to throw out that Diva Bomb on the point. Try and get that reset. If he can get a mech as well. Not able to get a kill. There's an anti that is going to go on to OBL. This is full stall out here from Boise State. And as long as they don't get wiped, it'll be incredibly difficult for Bryant Stratton to take this final point. His rally does come out from Asu. Kel still alive in that baby Diva form, looking to be able to get that remech off. Got to be careful for those mines, though. OBL taken out. And Boise State looks like they're going to send Bryant Stratton back to spawn. And the Broncos appear like they're barely going to be able to hold on here against the upset-minded Bobcats. And they'll send us to Game 3, tied at 1-aside.
Yeah, they really pulled that together, even with having spawn advantage. Goblin stalled for a ton of time on this Tracer and got a lot of cheeky pulse bomb picks as well, with Plato able to clean up with a lot of that Ash damage coming out, and both Kel and Guac were able to stall with their ults on the tanks because they were just not getting an answer from the side of Bryant. And I think Fabian switching off that Widowmaker was definitely detrimental, as that was definitely his comfort pick, because once he was on that McCree, he was not getting as many eliminations that the Bobcats needed.
Yeah, fitting that the player of the game does go to the Ashes. That is absolutely what allowed Boise State to open up that game and be able to capture B with so much time on the clock. Bryant Stratton thought they might have had it. They got 2 ticks early, just never were able to quite complete it, and we see why that Salt can be such a difficult map for teams. So we now tied at 1-aside. We'll make the last 3 basically a best of 3. Boise State has still got to be careful, because even though they are the lower seed, even though they maybe weren't expected by some teams to make it this far in the bracket, Bryant Stratton is giving Boise State all the work they can handle right now, making everything incredibly close. And this is only a semifinal. Boise State's going to be curious to see if maybe they get a little bit fatigued heading into that championship that would be coming up right after this if they're able to win it. But I liked how that map goes. You could see the time difference. It was going to be pretty staggering if Bryant Stratton won, so maybe Boise State has started to figure out what the Bobcats want to do. I'll be curious to see as we go on to what should be Escort, what map Bryant Stratton's going to pick. It's their first map choice of the series.
Yeah, and they also got to stick with that pharmacy. It definitely will help them win Lijiang Tower. So going into this next map, you have to wonder if they're going to try to play to that strat. But with Boise State picking the map, maybe they want to keep that in mind, because they weren't able to counter it as well as they should have. But as soon as Goblin swapped over to that Echo, he was able to disrupt and get a lot of the healers' picks. So kind of flip-flop back and forth of, do we do it? Do we commit to it? I have to wait and see, depending on the pick of Boise State for the map.
Looks like it was going to be Havana that was picked there, flashed on screen for just a little bit, so I'll be curious to see what Bryant Stratton has. It's a very, very hard map to push fully, and especially if Fabian wants to bring out that Widowmaker. That 3rd point, when you get to that castle, you get a Widowmaker set up, it can be so incredibly hard with the sightlines, not to mention this first point right here. If you don't want to opt for a close hold, you can just stick a Widowmaker up on that porch, and she can absolutely rain terror down on the opposing teams. Boise State has done it themselves, as we see here. Boise State back in the blue, Bryant Stratton in the red. We're tied at 1-aside going to game number 3 on Havana, and I'll be curious to see with Fabian on that May what the strategy will be for Bryant Stratton as they're attacking, and what Boise State wants to do if they want a close hold or not here to start off defending.
I would hope they're not going for the close hold. With Plato being on the Ash, you're going to be down a member, and then you have to try to win the 5v6 fight there. And especially with Fabian on the May, he can just wall off the sightline for Ash, and then you're just completely down that member. You'd have to rotate all the way around. By that time, you could already lose 1 or 2 members. And it looks like they're definitely going for the close hold, so big props to Boise State. They're already rotating around, so we'll see if Bryant Stratton is able to recognize that as they push out the left side. Quick engagement here with Fabian back on this May, and now Everlong on the McCree, taking over the role, see if he's able to do more, as Kel already falling to half HP with Immortality Field coming out for the side of Brian. Not getting any value as no members were even falling that low. Tatsuyo getting down to a third, but coming right back up. The Mortality Field comes out for Boise State when 2 members quickly fall. Make that 3. With Fabian on this main, already getting a lot more value than we saw him on the McCree. And with Kel and Asu quickly falling behind, Goblins at least able to get 1 for 1. With no mercy on either side, no reses coming out, but Bryant wins the first fight.
Yeah, Boise State will have plenty of time here to recontest. Even with 5 members on the payload, it just does not go fast enough. They burned only about 30 seconds off the clock with that close hold, and then we see that the ult advantage definitely on the side of the Bobcats with that shatter coming up very soon. Plato got quite a bit on that Nash, though. He has the Bob available, immediately going to call it in. Immortality Field is put down. Tatsuo doesn't even stand in it as he gets taken out before his Immortality Field falls. Goblin's going to have to stand in Asu's Immortality Field to stay alive. Bob does get taken out, but it's the only elimination that Bryant Stratton's able to pick up, and they'll get sent back to spawn.
Yeah, Goblin swapping over to the Reaper has definitely paid off already, able to cause a lot more havoc for the tanks and burn them down a lot quicker. And now QBL not on that Wrecking Ball is definitely on his back foot at the moment, trying to get that adjustment. But now Brian's going into this next fight with a huge ult advantage here, with Boise State only having the Amplification Matrix and Self-Destruct right behind it. Maybe the Shatter will be able to get farmed with a large bagel, trying to get Sound Barrier as quick as he can. We're going to see the Amplification Matrix come out, but the Maywall right behind able to cut off a lot of members, and now even Blizzard coming out here with Guac getting eliminated, but then Plato's able to quickly re-answer that, and QBL eliminating Guac. Goblin with Kel taking out Natsuo back and forth between these two teams, but it looks like Bryant might take this with Kel even able to take out Fabian. It's really back and forth, and a lot of ults on the side of Bryant, but they're not using them to win this fight. We're going to finally see the Diva Bomb come out, but a lot of just move around the corner, block it with Boise State's own Diva Bomb coming out, but it looks like it was just slightly misplaced, sadly, as Deadeye comes out for the side of Bryant. They don't really know where it is as it's right behind the Rhine. They're able to finally call that out and completely dodge it. Their own Amplification Matrix now coming out with Sound Barrier online for the side of Boise State to keep members alive. Guac now just getting his Shatter online. Try to finish off this final push from the side of Brian. With Plato now just getting a double, and it looks like Boise State is taking it with Plato getting a total triple out of that final fight, and it's a team wipe.
Yeah, that fight took forever for both sides, and I think the real key there was Plato has now already called in 2 bombs in this match, and there have only been a total of 3 fights, as Bryant Stratton's going to change everything up, so they're going to throw away a ton of ult charge for this last fight. You see 5 members are going to change. Everlong on the McCree, the only one who stays. Boise State's trying to wipe him. They have a huge shatter if Guac's able to land it. He's going to hold on to it for now, though. There's an Ant Matrix coming up soon for Boise State. There's a 4-man shatter, though, for Guac. Boise State's at least able to take down Tatsuo. Narwhal will fall as well. Large Barrel does get picked, but as a Lucio, probably the best target as he can speed back to the fight should one break out. And Bryant Stratton's going to have one final contest. Zobiel gets staggered there, so does Cole the Crazy, and they're going to have to come up with a miracle game plan for this final fight that's going to bleed into overtime.
Yeah, you got to go pretty much full dive at this point if you even want to try to contest the card, but it looks like Fabian is sticking with that Widowmaker, so he's going to be in the backline the whole time with Tatsuo, even sticking with the Brig. We're going to see Deadeye come out from the side of Bryant, but it looks like most members of Boise State already backed around that corner. But he manages to get Guac with the shield either being broken or very low health, so he wasn't able to bring it up. Plato is able to quickly re-answer that as elimination onto him, with Goblin taking out Fabian and Plato using Bob to take out Narwhal. Goblin cleans up Tatsuo. Kel uses the self-destruct to take out Cole, and it looks like this is Boise State's round. Yeah,
Boise State had started off not as strong as they would have liked, but they had a great hold in a very, very long fight, and we only get really 4.5 fights here for Bryant Stratton, and we'll see Boise State has their work cut out for them as they look to go on to match point and put themselves just 1 map away from the Play versus Championships. It's Bryant Stratton, it's Boise State's Play versus semifinals. We'll have the championship coming up right after should Boise State continue to prevail and come out on top, and then we'll wrap up the night with our NECC championship with Boise State and UC Santa Cruz. But right now, Boise State's focus is all on Bryant Stratton. They want to be able to put themselves up 2 maps to 1. They would give the Bobcats map choice, but Bryant Stratton picked Havana, and so far it has not gone very well.
Yeah, as soon as Goblin swapped over to that Reaper, he was just able to hold down the cart much better than Bryant Stratton could even push to it. And even with Fabian swapped over the Widowmaker, he was constantly getting picked off. And so they just did not have the pressure on the cart that they needed to push through the Boise State defense. So you have to think going into their own defensive strat, what are they going to pull out that will help them hold it back? They have the May, but after they used that Blizzard, they were just losing team fights all the time. So you have to think how much value is she going to get on defense rather than attack here?
Yeah, and I'm really curious to see what Bryant Stratton wants to do, because I would think that a close hold would be the best strat here, because we saw for Boise State, you can close hold and then get a second contest off. If you contest right around that first corner, or maybe where Bryant Stratton is standing, there's not a guarantee that you can get another contest off. So they will walk up right on top. Boise State, you can see them peeking through the window. They were ready for it. They'll get one last look at the Bryant Stratton comp, and Goblin will swap over to that May, and we'll now go into the game. As Boise State gets a huge stun onto Narwhal, but a great May wall is going to block off Plato on the wrong side. He's barely able to get around, but an immortality field from Asu and Tatsuo will come out, and both will be destroyed in short order. As Boise State gets a freeze onto OBL, but it's a large Bagel's the first one taken out. Fabian will fall, which will reduce the May walls and the lack of the amount of CC Bryant Stratton has, and that should open up a window here for Boise State. As you can see, Plato running at Tatsuo, gets him low enough that a Flame Strike could snipe him out. Amp Matrix already ready for Asu. Point still, though, being contested by Bryant Stratton. And right now, Boise State looks like they're starting to wrap things up. They'll take down two. OBL will be the next one to fall. And Boise State one fight away now from going up 2-1.
Boise State has the better May on their side, able to live through that entire fight, whereas Fabian was taken out pretty early on, losing that CC and the sight lines, letting Plato get a lot of damage onto that back line. And now already halfway to this match point marker, Brian's got to pull out all the stops. They do have ult advantage, and we are going to see Sound Barrier come out with Boise State throwing down the Shatter and getting no value with the amplification matrix coming out. We're going to see Deadeye come out onto Fabian as well, so they're already losing their stalling May. Diva Bomb does come out and has only managed to take out Asu, but a Deadeye from behind is able to get two members with a third right behind him. Everlong on this McCree getting a lot more value than Fabian on that first map, with QBL able to finish off the last remaining members of Boise State.
In the May wall, just a split second too late for Goblin to block off that Deadeye, and unfortunately, that's not how Boise State wanted that fight to go, but they still have plenty of chances here. They have a Diva Bomb and a Sound Barrier coming up. Amp Matrix will go down. Maywall will miss the Amp Matrix, so they're forced to use the payload to line of sight. They should be able to wait out the entire duration, and Maywall is going to go from Fabian as well. Just cut the teams in half. Boise State will now retreat. They've got a Diva Bomb online. No ult up for Bryant Stratton, so the Bobcats have got to be careful. Immortality Field comes down from Boise State. There's a Blizzard, but it's going to be eaten by OBL. Diva Bomb's going to fly in on the back line. Able to pick up Cole the Crazy. They take down Tatsuo's Immortality Field as well. Large Bagel can just throw down the aggro Sound Barrier. As Boise State looks to wrap up this map, Narwhal gets taken out. Fabian's last-ditch effort with the Blizzard. Boise State not quite able to get out of it. They do lose a large Bagel, but Goblin picks up a double kill. OBL forced out of the mech. Boise State should be able to pick up this one, as trying Everlong was for one last-ditch huge Deadeye, not able to get it. Narwhal's going to be able to contest on the point. He blocks the Shatter, but his corpse just runs right into the payload, and Boise State will put themselves on match point.
Yeah, Boise State played that fantastically, because once Everlong had that first Deadeye at play, you had to keep an eye on him, and Kel was right there alongside it, as I believe that will be the play of the game, is that triple from that first Deadeye from Everlong. But Boise State was able to adapt a lot quicker to it once it was pulled off.
You see the Maywall just literally seconds away from being put up in time, but does not matter. They can have play of the game. Boise State will gladly take the map, and we will head on to map number 4. But before we do, don't forget Idaho Codes is a sponsored summer computer science program open to all 7th through 12th grade students in every Idaho school district, teaching coding and programming courses. Students who complete Idaho Codes have various credit opportunities and can network with those in the industry. Please encourage students in every district to register at www.idahocodes.org. The program is free for the first 1,000 students registered, and there are options to participate either on campus or online. Idaho Codes is also looking for local college students with a background in coding to be mentors for Idaho Codes. It pays $2,000, and you can apply at ctsusutah.org/apps for more information. Boise State, Bryant Stratton here, play versus semifinals, one of what could be 3 Overwatch matches on the night, with the championships of the play versus following if Boise State's able to get the job done. And then we would wrap things up with the NECC championship that we know will be happening in our final event of the night. We now go to hybrid. Curious to see what Bryant Stratton's going to pick. It probably will be Kings Row, Brenner. That's just because that is a map that most teams are very comfortable on, and I'll be curious to see if Boise State tries something else. They had their strategy of kind of stalling, kiting around with a Diva and an Orisa, and usually Hanzo and a Torbjorn. Has been cracked pretty quickly by some teams, even in the quarterfinals earlier this week. It was taken care of quite handily, so I'll be curious to see if Boise State wants to go with it, or if they maybe have a new strat up their sleeve if it is end up being Kings Row.
Yeah, I'll have to see if Brian also brings out that pharmacy that worked out for them so well on Lijiang Tower. Have to see if they bring that back for Kings Row, or if they try to do maybe a Statue of Liberty play with the Bastion and just disrupt Boise State as much as they can and even have a higher ground against the traditional Torbjorn and Hanzo that we see from the Boise defense strat. They've also been bringing out an Orisa and a Wrecking Ball with QBL on that Wrecking Ball, getting a lot of value last time. So I'll have to see if he'll try to go for that and disrupt that top line and force them on to point and fight a lot sooner.
It doesn't look like it is going to be Kings Row, though, so that will just throw out the window, and I'll be curious to see. I mean, it is interesting what Bryant Stratton wants to do in terms of their DPS, because it seems like Fabian and Everlong have gotten some value at times, but haven't got quite a lot of value outside of that pharmacy, and Everlong picking up quite a few plays with that McCree. So I think that DPS line is going to be the focus, because it feels like the rest of the team for Bryant Stratton kind of has their roles figured out in terms of what heroes they want to play. The DPS have been swapping back and forth. They really just haven't figured out exactly what they want to run against Boise State. The pharmacy worked well early. They haven't brought it out as much recently, but this would be a great map to do it on.
Yeah, it really would. And Fabian's been going around between a lot of heroes, as you mentioned. We saw him probably most successfully on that Widowmaker, which is definitely not the best for a hybrid map. And then we've also seen Everlong did really well on that McCree, but with swapping off so much, you're losing a lot of ult percentage, so you have to pick a champion and just nail it down. So we'll have to wait and see what they decide to land on.
Yeah, Bryant Stratton wanted Numbani for a reason. So we'll see if, unlike Havana, it will go their way, and they will send us to a game number 5, which we know will be on Control. But Boise State would get to pick once again, because they would have to lose this map. Or if it will be Boise State with the defense. We do see a Pharah there for the blue team. Not sure if it will be Bryant Stratton or Boise State on that Pharah. Defensively, it's a very interesting option. Offensively, I could see it maybe being used to try and boot people off of that high ground. Usually see Bastions and Orisas set up on that top ground, so I'll be curious to see what Boise State or Bryant Stratton, whoever's defending first, wants to set up.
Yeah, on this defensive side, you're seeing a traditional defensive strat with the Soldier, the Pharmacy, the Ana, the Diva, and the Winston. So on the attacking side, you can only see so much, but it looks like they do have a Winston at least to try to get up on that high ground and disrupt as much as he can. And with this Soldier and Pharah trying to even contest if they have their own, but it looks like they have the Echo and Mercy as well. As we swap over, it looks like Boise State is going to defend first, going into a double bubble comp here on the side of Bryant.
Yeah, serious to see how much value Boise State could get. They did kind of counteract Narwhal's attempt to try and jump in, as Boise State is scattered all over the place defensively. Everlong taken to about 50%, able to be healed back up. Boise State has not found an elimination yet, as Everlong's going to take quite a bit of damage from this Soldier. I think Boise State was expecting the Pharmacy, and that's why we see Plato on that Soldier. Going to put quite a bit of damage on, as right now Bryant Stratton really hasn't found a way to crack the point. OBL taken incredibly low on that Zarya, forced to line of sight. Plato does have to run away from a very angry Gorillas. Goblin's the first elimination. Can Bryant Stratton prevent the res? Looks like they won't be able to, but they do get a great pick on to Plato, and they take down Asu as well, so Boise State looks like they're going to have to retreat, but they should have one more contest depending on how fast their members can get back.
Yeah, and with that Soldier, you'd hope they'd be able to get back fast quickly, especially with the Pharmacy able to contest the Echo, but it looks like they're just going to give it to Bryant for that first point. Not even swapping anything out. No, we're going to see Goblin actually swap off from the Pharmacy, so I have to wait and see if Ace is going to swap off as well. Hopefully to either Lucio or Brig to fight on the cart a lot better for his team. With Double Bubble still pushing strong and Duplicate coming online with most ults right behind it. So you see the Duplicate go right onto Soldier with the attack visor being applied, as well as the Nano onto Plato. No value there, as Fabian gets a double Deadeye elimination onto both supports of Boise State, so they're definitely going to have to play on their back foot here, as Goblin is able to get the elimination onto Everlong, but Fabian returns that as an elimination onto Plato. Boise State already backing off, might even have to give up this first checkpoint.
Yeah, it was a great sleep by Cole the Crazy, landed onto Plato mid-ult with the Nano going, and huge reason why Boise State was just forced to retreat. And Fabian on this McCree gets another huge deadeye. And as you said, Boise State looks like they're just going to be forced to give up the second point. And now it looks like they'll fly in. Kel at the last moment going to try and use the Diva Bomb there. They're going to pick onto Tatsuo to deny the res. Kel barely remix at very low HP. Pulse Bomb's going to come out for Goblin, not able to find anything. Valkyrie is committed though by Asu. This Goblin's going to be taken out. Kel in that baby Diva form. Res does come out to get Boise State back at full strength. This Narwhal with that Primal Rage will be taken out. Fabian only gets one elimination on the high ground. Ends up rolling off for the reload. Cost himself his life. A remech there takes down OBL, and Boise State with the contest 1.82 meters away. And he caught Bryant Stratton off guard.
Yeah, Kel staying alive for as long as he did is quite impressive. Able to remech and just cause disruption all over the place. Same with Guac. The supports of Boise State definitely keeping their team as alive as long as they can. We did see the Valkyrie come out here for the side of Boise State so he could swap over to this Brig. So hopefully in this next coming team fight, he'll be able to disrupt a lot longer, maybe even get a rally if this fight lasts long enough, with Guac having the Primal Rage. Instead of Bryant coming out with the Deadeye on the elimination of Plato. Now with No Mercy, they don't have the res, but they're able to quickly answer it back to back, but not stop the res from the side of Bryant, bringing Fabian back into it. But now with no Deadeye, it's going to be all down to clicking on heads as the Nano comes out as well before she falls, as Guac is able to get a double elimination. Now with only one support for the side of Bryant, Fabian is able to eliminate it, and it looks like they're going to get the checkpoint.
It was a very interesting fight there. We saw Hobiel commit what was basically a solo grab onto Guac just to allow Tatsuo to get the res off. Thought Boise State might be able to punish Bryant Stratton for the aggressive play, but they weren't quite able to. And that's a huge pick onto Plato. Unfortunately, the payload speed's not going to allow Bryant Stratton to make much of that. Plato will be respawned well before the payload rounds that final corner. But Bryant Stratton with 3 minutes and 40 seconds on the clock has plenty of time here for multiple fights. Everlong with the duplicate, immediately going to use onto that Diva, try and get multiple Diva Bomb value here. Have to be careful with the remech as well. Pulse Bomb gets eaten by Everlong, even on the DPS roll. Still making great value of those Diva mechanics. Bomb goes out, not able to find anything. He will apply the remech, and then the duplicate will fade. Kel does get taken out before he's able to find much value. Goblin trying to stay alive, gets the rewind. Forces out the solo Primal Rage from Narwhal, who's about to be taken out by that Tracer. Unfortunately, Boise State hasn't really got much else success. As we see a revive come out on the cold, the crazy Plato's taken out, and Bryant Stratton might be able to just wrap this one up as the Diva Bomb's not able to find any value. Everlong picks up a triple kill. And Boise State's just going to have to start throwing themselves at the point just to kill time, if nothing else. They're already down 3. Kel's going to be taken out of the mech. Primal Rage has to be committed there to stay alive. Cold the Crazy falls. Should be able to be rezzed, though, by Tatsuo as the Deadeye comes out for Fabian and put right onto Plato. And it looks like Boise State's going to have to plan for overtime here as Bryant Stratton is just running through the Broncos, who are throwing themselves on the cart continuously. They have burned a minute off, though, so at least they have that to look forward to. As Boise State once again tries to pulse bomb, can't find any value. Goblin trying to do what he can. Deadeye from Plato's going to come out. He's at 3 HP. He lands the stun, but it's not enough to stop the Tesla cannon. There's a grab coming out from OBL, and that's enough to cap as Boise State burns a minute off, but still has to worry about what's going to happen in overtime should they get there.
Yeah, it seems Fabian finally found his DPS character on that McCree, getting constant 1 or 2 picks with that Deadeye before losing his own life, but he was getting value with it all the time, whereas Plato, once he swapped over to that McCree, we saw maybe 1 or 2 Deadeyes come out, but not a single elimination with them, as Narwhal on that Winston was right on top of him almost every time. Same with Everlong. He swapped over the Echo. We saw him get that triple kill right at the end. Even the duplicate eating that pulse bomb. They found their DPS characters, so now Boise State has to meet that match.
It'll be tough for Boise State. They're going to have to roll Bryant Stratton pretty heavily on points 1 and 2. And then they can have some time to kill on point 3 before we potentially go into overtime. Boise State leads the series 2-1 in this best of 5 in the play versus semifinals. So the Broncos looking to avoid a win or go home game 5 for a spot in the championship. The Broncos were the only undefeated team in the regular season. They're the #1 seed, but Bryant Stratton, the upstart underdogs, have given Boise State quite the challenge, and it looks like for now not much is going to change, at least from the comp we can see with the Winston, the Echo, and the Mercy still all just chilling there. We see McCree as well, so it looks like same comp here to the side of Bryant Stratton.
It looks like Boise State is also back on that Mercy or Echo. Can't see which just yet. It's back on the Echo this time and the Mercy. So they're trying to meet Bryant with that Echo Mercy strat, with Guac and Kel sticking to their guns on those tanks, and it looks like Plato's now swapping over to the Tracer instead of Goblin this time. We'll have to see if they'll be able to disrupt this high ground that they have, with Tracer having to go all the way around, and already Kel's in that back line. Same with Guac, getting a double elimination very early on, with trying to deny that Mercy rest the best they can. Now already down to support. Looks like Boise State is definitely trying to go for the roll strat here, taking that point as quick as they can with 4 members on it. 2 pips done. Brian Strat's on the retreat.
And Boise State could not have capped that much faster than Brian Stratton did, as both teams kind of rolled on first point. We'll see now if Boise State can continue. So we head to second point, as this is where Brian Stratton really kind of rolled over Boise State in quick fashion, as both echoes go up in the air. Nobody really close to an ult, but Goblin has the lead in terms of duplicate. And it looks like for now they'll just trade out, as Boise State's trying to get this payload to go as fast as possible.
Yeah, they do only have 2 members on it, so that if they had 1 more, it would go ever so slightly faster. But with a double elimination coming out from the side of Fabian and 1 more from Narwhal, being down both DPSs and a support, looks like Boise State is already going to have to back off, losing a large bagel as well as getting that stagger on. They will have Valkyrie and Duplicate coming into this next fight, with Primal Rage and Nano and Pulse Bomb close behind. The res does come out for a large bagel, so he does not have to stagger too long. You're going to see Duplicate come out from the side of Bryant onto the Diva in the back line, no less. So Boise State doesn't have even a member on the cart, and Diva Bomb out in the back line, getting no value, just splitting up the team, as we see a double elimination for both tanks onto Guac and Plato. The Duplicates onto the Zarya. Do see a large bagel also eliminated from the Deadeye, as Rez comes out from the side of Bryant, and Narwhal picking up Asu as well. Boise State has to reset.
Yeah, you see Goblin's trying to get a grab off. Doesn't look like, oh, he will at the very last moment get one out onto multiple members. That's going to allow Boise State to jump right on top of them. Unfortunately, they're not able to get a single elimination, and it will only cost Goblin his life, as well as Kel will lose the mech. So they attempted to make a play off the sneaky grab, not able to get it. Primal Rage does take down the baby Diva. Guac's going to be forced to commit its own Primal Rage as he's hit with an anti. He gets put to sleep as well. Oh, the Crazy has been absolutely insane with these sleep darts. He's going to drop a Nano onto Narwhal to try and disrupt the Boise State backline, but it's fading with a huge headshot onto Plato. That's going to force the Boise State retreat.
Yeah, Boise State has not had an answer for Fabian or Everlong yet. They've just been able to wreak havoc onto the backline of Boise State, as we see the Diva Bomb come out from the side of Boise State. It doesn't get any value. We're going to see Goblin and a large bagel able to eliminate Ana and the Winston, with Goblin now finally taking out Everlong, and Guac, along with the help of both supports, takes out Fabian. So it looks like Boise State is able to get almost that team wipe, and hopefully this first checkpoint.
Yeah, Boise State should have enough time on the clock to at least make them favored in overtime, but they would have to roll here on to the final point. About the same amount of time Brian Stratton had, if not about 10 seconds less. But we'll see. Brian Stratton just rolled through Boise State on this last point.
Tetsuo also sweeping over to that brig, so now Everlong does not have his pocket Mercy. So hopefully Boise State is able to recognize that, as we see Goblin use the Duplicate onto the McCree, hopefully able to get a Deadeye, as AC pops his Valkyrie as well. Hopefully see a swap onto the champion there, as we see Goblin able to get 2 picks with that Deadeye, so the roll could be coming in. We see QBL answer it with his own double kill onto Guac and Plato, trying to dive that backline the best they could, but did not have an answer for that Zarya. So we see Goblin able to eliminate Everlong before he uses that Duplicate, but now Boise State's going into this next team fight with not any ult percentage really, other than that Nano, whereas Bryant has all 3 and 2 more on the way.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see, with the Mercy now gone for Brian Stratton, if Everlong just wants to get the Duplicate off and then swap over to a different hero. As Boise State for right now has to be worried about that grab. There's the Duplicate. It's going to go on to Diva. Deadeye will just pick Goblin right out, and now Boise State's got to be worried about a grab, if not another Diva Bomb from Everlong. He's trying to build up that charge, drops low, and Boise State looks like they're just going to retreat. They'll break the Duplicate, though, or at least they'll break the first part of it. The baby Diva comes out for just a moment. Everlong fades, so no value there. And Boise State's going to have to reseed, but they're still going right into that grab for OBL.
Yeah, and at that 65%, Goblin swapped off over to the Reaper, try to deal with that Zarya. Now throwing out that grab. We're going to see the Matrix come out as well, but try to keep them alive. But 2 members, make that 3 members now fall to Bryant. That grab came out, and they did not have a sound barrier to answer with not a Lucio on the field. That Immortality field was not able to keep anyone alive as it was burned down very quickly by Narwhal on the Winston. So now this next team fight coming up, they got Rally, they got Primal. Boise State pretty much got Nano and Amplification Matrix. Self-destruct close behind. See if they'll able to get some value this time around with Shatter at that 75% marker.
They did use the Nano in that previous fight. As the Rally comes out, there's a Deadeye as well. Nano is going to go on to Goblin, but he will immediately be taken out by that Deadeye. Guac's going to get stunned up. Boise State gets 1 elimination onto Everlong, who's now on the junk wrap, but there's not much more as the sleep comes out onto Kel. He's going to be forced to sit there. Should be able to rocket boost away, barely living at 62 HP. Gets found out by Narwhal. I don't think he's going to get much further, and Boise State now with under 2 minutes left is going to have to try and come up with a strategy here with a couple of swaps onto the Mei and the Lucio, so just an Ant Matrix available as Kel's trying to get that mech back.
Yeah,
nope.
And there you go. So now even Staggered being down in a tank with no self-destruct. They do have the Amplification Matrix and the Shatter up, but Fabian really has Goblin's number as Goblin's currently asleep. Once again, these amazing honest sleeps and just plays in general have been on point for both of these teams. But now Boise State having almost a whole minute less than the side of Bryant for overtime if they're able to even get there. Bryant Strat even has the ult advantage going into this with a lot of percentages right on the edge. Hopefully by the end of this next team fight they will have them, with Boise State only having 3 at the moment.
Boise State not close to the sound barrier. They need a great play there from a large bagel as Goblin will get immediately picked. There's a sleep that lands once again onto Kel. Has the deep bomb available, just going to throw it out. Immortality field keeping several members of Boise State just barely alive, but a Riptire, a Deadeye, and a Primal Raid will all wipe through all of that. And Boise State's going to have to gear up for the final fight. They'll have just the Shatter online. Bryant Shatter has a Nano, and if they Nano onto OBL, he's able to get decent value. He should get a grab up, and that should be what seals it and sent us to a game 5.
Yeah, Bryant's just been winning the ult game, getting a lot more picks than Boise has this entire time. And Fabian on this McCree, once he got comfortable, he's just been owning this field with the DPS on the side of Boise State not having an answer for it. And Plato now swapping over to the Mei at that 60%, so close to the Blizzard already, should be able to hopefully get it by the end of this team fight, seeing as it will be the last one. Grab now up for OBL. Boise State has to watch out for it, and it's going to be on Kel to try to eat it, but he's unable to as it gets 2 members of Boise State, and Guac is even eliminated.
And that should do it here for Bryant Stratton. Looks like they're going to be able to wrap this one up with ease. Plato's going to try for potentially a sneaky flank onto the payload. Unfortunately, Bryant Stratton was more than ready for that one. The Bobcats will send us to a game number 5 between the 1 seed, Boise State, and the underdogs, Bryant Stratton, as we're 1 now control game away. Boise State will get the pick. They already picked Li Zhang as the higher seed. I'll be curious to see what their second choice will be as Everlong gets play of the game with a great Riptire, and we're just now 1 game away no matter who wins it from a championship.
Yeah, Bryant Stratton really did their research and has become the formidable foe for Boise State. Now even taking the play of the game from us. So you have to wonder, what is Boise State going to bring out now to try to answer both Fabian and Everlong, who have definitely found their comfort picks.
Yeah, and it's going to go back to control, which Bryant Stratton won with relative ease, honestly, winning both game 1 and game 2 with some very interesting strats, a great amount of stall on that second map. So it's going to be interesting to see what Boise State has up their sleeve. And Bryant Stratton would be quite the story if they're able to make the championship. Boise State, I know, wants to be there. They're the number 1 seed. They have not had a hiccup all year. And we'll see now as we head on to game number 5, which team's going to come home with the spot in the championship and which team's going to have to settle for a top 4 finish.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see if the huge upset comes out here for the finale, because as you mentioned, Boise State definitely wants to be there. We've been number 1 all semester, so maybe it's just simply fatigue setting in for our Boise State, or maybe they pull it together here and we see the win come out for this final control map. Because on control, they did bring out the pharmacy, so maybe Boise State just straight up has an answer for that pharmacy, as we saw at the start of Havana with that Soldier and Echo play. So maybe Boise State just plays towards that, or they go for their comfort picks.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see which team's going to come out on top. And, I mean, even if Boise State wins, you do have to wonder about fatigue with the championship game coming up. I mean, it's going to be between North Texas and Akron on the other side of the bracket, the number 2 and the number 3 seed. So those were expected to be there, Boise State as well. But Bryant Stratton has been the Cinderella story, and they are now 2 maps away from locking in a spot in the championship. Or will Boise State be able to rally in what has been a back-and-forth series between the Broncos and the Bobcats? So we get ready to start game number 5.
And going into it, we're on an indoors map, so hopefully we won't see the Pharmacy come out or even the Echo on either side, as those have both been 2 heroes that have been consistent in this matchup between these 2 teams. The Diva and the Winston have also been some favorites, but it looks like we're also going to see the return of Orisa and Wrecking Ball here, kind of the high disrupt the back line, with one holding on the point. So hopefully Boise State has a solid answer after going up against it for so long. And it looks like they're also going to bring the Orisa of their own along with Sigma this time.
Yeah, you have to assume it's probably OBL on that Wrecking Ball for Bryant Stratton in the red. But we will see here as soon as the heroes toggle along, and indeed it will be. Boise State looking for a huge first pick. There is OBL already on the back line, though. He's going to get stunned and immediately taken out by Goblin. Huge pick there to start things off for Boise State. Now they can start to shove down the side of Bryant Stratton as both tanks for the Bobcats have been taken out. They're still bringing that Echo back despite the indoor facility. And Boise State looks like they're going to start with the point first as OBL sneaking around. You saw him on the left side of your screen, rolling towards that payload. Not able to get there in time to contest, however, and Boise State will start racking up percent first.
Yeah, good on Boise State for just immediately turning and taking out OBL on that Wrecking Ball, as he's caused so many problems in the past. But it looks like Bryant's going for the right side push from their spawn, try his big closer hold. But this Echo Mercy comp needs to be swapped off, as, like you mentioned, it's indoors. You're not going to get as much value as you want. Try to disrupt the back line. And with Plato on this Drunkard, he's able to burn down all the shields that Orisa can throw. So you gotta wonder, what are they trying to do, as a large bagel even gets the boob kill onto Colt the Crazy, and Valkyrie's coming up from the side of Bryant along with the duplicate onto the Orisa. So now 2 Orisas on the side of Bryant, see if they're able to hold down, as Goblin's able to get the Deadeye onto Tatsuo, denying the res as Fabian returns it, and then Plato is able to return it onto him. So back and forth there, as QBL even is able to get Guac, and Keld gets knocked off, with QBL surviving thanks to the grapple.
Yeah, unfortunately, Boise State probably wanted to try and stall out for percent, similar to how we saw in Lijiang. Weren't quite able to do it, so now they'll have to regroup here against Bryant Stratton, with the Bobcats ticking up just past 15%. Boise State does have a pair of ults online and 3 more waiting right above that 90% mark, as we're going to see a sneaky little Riptire come out here for Plato. He's trying to get the backline flank. Question is he going to get the tire there in time? The answer is no. Fabian saw that one coming and was able to take it out, so that's 1 ult down for Boise State. OBL taking quite low, though. He will be eliminated, but he has been sort of that distraction suicide bot for the side of Bryant Stratton, and they've still got quite a bit of value. Boise State will flip the point back as Cole the Crazy and Everlong both get taken out, and Bryant Stratton's going to be forced to retreat here with the sound barrier and a Riptire on its way.
Yeah, Plato getting that final double kill with that Echo and Mercy on the side close room. Not what you want to see from an Echo and a Mercy there, as Riptire comes out from the side of Bryant, able to eliminate Asu there. So being down a healer, Boise State doesn't have the res like Bryant does. We're going to see the Bongo even get eliminated by Everlong. So being down an ult already, we're going to see have the Flux come out, and Kel has only managed to get 1, but not even from the ult. QBL's able to eliminate Plato with a large bagel, taking out Everlong, and Kel taking out Natsuo. So being down a healer, DPS, and a tank, Bryant is not looking good here, with Boise State only using Guac. Asu's able to get a double kill as a support, no less. It looks like Boise State's going to be able to hold it with this final push. Might be Boise State's point unless they're able to get past this Boise State front line right now, with QBL trying his best, but just not fast enough.
Yeah, he got incredibly close, just wasn't quite able to get there. And now Boise State is 1 map away from a spot in the Play versus Championship. We'll see if Bryant Stratton can rally. Bobcats have done a good job keeping Boise State on their toes for the most part, forcing them to a Game 5. And we'll see here if they've got one last trick up their sleeve, as they'll go back to that Pharmacy at least in the pre-map screen, then try and catch Boise State off guard once again with Boise State going with the Symmetra and the McCree before swapping over to the Tracer.
Yeah, hopefully this Pharmacy pays off a lot better than that Echo did last night, because they definitely overcommitted with the Echo. Even using Duplicate on the Ariza was not able to get a ton of value off of it, getting stuck in that side room and getting the double elimination as well after that final point, possibly costing that round for their team as well. As we kick things off, we saw the teleporter used and then Plato swapping back over to the McCree from the Symmetra. So no turrets on either side.
You're going to have to deal with Everlong at some point, and that's a great way to start if they're able to take down 2. They deny the res as well, and Boise State was ready for the Pharmacy, and they immediately shut it down and clipped the wings. And Boise State now sends Bryant Stratton back to spawn, and they'll start with the point first.
Yeah, great start from Boise State. Kind of perfect timing on our end, saying we need to eliminate Everlong, and then we do. That's just what you want to see from the side of Boise State. Both Fabian and Plato pretty close on that ult percentage, so hopefully we may see a double Deadeye from both sides. But with Bryant going the double bubble and Boise State going more of the traditional hold set along with a little bit Tracer thrown in there for disruption, I have to see if Everlong on Natsuo with Cold Crazy going to the low health will be able to deal with that constant disruption. You see a double elimination come out from the side of Bryant, taking out both a large Bagel and Guac, with Kel answering with an elimination onto Fabian, and then one onto QBL, so being down a tank and a DPS already on this push. We're going to see Deadeye come out with the Amplification Matrix and the Pulse Bomb, so 3 ults already committed on the side of Boise State, with a sleep going onto Plato after he eliminates Cole the Crazy, so perfect timing there, with Goblin eliminating Tatsuo and Everlong getting taken out by a large Bagel, losing that Pharmacy and full supports. Bryant is playing on their back foot right now.
Yeah, Boise State's starting to roll over the Bobcats as they'll have a couple of ults here, make it 3 to be able to siege, but Everlong, not what you wanted. Still has not gotten a Rocket Barrage at 71%, and with the way the point's going, Bryant Stratton's going to have 2, maybe 2.5 fights left in them, so they've got to start getting some value onto Boise State. They don't have a sound barrier up. They only have a Diva Bomb, and maybe with that Nano onto Narwhal, they'll be able to make some noise, as there it is. The Nano's actually going to go onto OBL. Deadeye is going to come out from Fabian. Narwhal's able to take out Plato, and Everlong finally gets some value, able to take out a large Bagel. Kel trying to do what he can, diving right onto that Pharah. Not quite able to get there in time. It looks like Boise State will be forced to reset. Kel even going to just hold on to that Diva Bomb because he knew that there was nothing they could do.
Yeah, good plays by Boise State, not committing too many ults in the prior fight, try to save them up. So now with 88% on the board, they win this next team fight, it should be theirs, with forcing Bryant to go all-in dive to try to contest and buy as much time as they need. With going into this next fight, we're seeing pretty much only a Primal Rage and the Barrage, with the self-destruct Diva Bomb right behind. But with our Diva Bomb right up before, if they're able to burn that mech down, should be a Boise State win for this fight, but a possible early elimination onto Asu, jumping up right next to the Narwhal, as we see our own Diva Bomb be used in that side corner room as it was eliminated, and even gets Narwhal right on that door windowsill. So good on them for being able to get that, as their own Diva Bomb comes out. Perfect Rhine shield blocking for Plato, using that Deadeye, sadly getting no value. But now with Sound Barrier and Amplification Matrix and even Shatter online, we're going to see Brian go into full dive now, swapping over to the Wrecking Ball and the Doom Fist. See if this will make the difference for Brian, or if this is a Boise State game, which will bring us into the finale.
Sound Barrier does come out from a large Bagel just to try and sustain Boise State's life bars. Goblin does get taken out. Tatsuo and Fabian will both fall. Cole the Crazy goes down as well. It's down to a 5v2. Narwhal and OBL, the 2 tanks. Last man standing for Bryant Stratton. Wrecking Ball trying to do what he can to stall out as long as possible. Finally gets taken out. And the overtime is just too fast for Bryant Stratton to get the recontest off. And Boise State, by the skin of their teeth, will come out with a 3-2 series victory, and they'll head to the play versus championship.
Yeah, that is definitely a team you would want to scrim from there on out if they were able to upset you going all 5 rounds in a 3-2 matchup. Boise State barely pulling it out, putting it all on the line on a controlled Nepal map, and it seems Bryant really cost that first round sticking to that Echo Mercy, so hopefully they learned a lot from it.
Yeah, that was a really good job by Bryant Stratton. As I said, the underdog team that most of the experts did not expect to get there. And don't forget, Boise State is proud supporter. Boise State Esports proud supporter is the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time. For more than 10 jobs, offering you a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is the best team out there. Reach out on Twitch at iGuard Gaming. The Idaho Army National Guard also brings us the top 5 plays at the end of every match, and I'm sure there will be quite a bit of them with a semifinal and now we know 2 championships here. But first, we do have our Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game, and Brenner, there are a lot of good choices for Boise State. I think it'll go down into the hands of one of the DPS, but maybe you have a different idea.
No, I agree. It'll probably be one of the 2 DPS, as we saw a lot of good plays coming out from both sides. I would hope to see it's Plato, which I will definitely get a huge hats off to. We saw early on him swapping to that Reaper, and then later on he went to the Ash. And then we saw him just now get a lot of elimination, so you have to give him hats off, because in that second map for Temple of Anubis, he was able to pretty much win that map for his team with that side Bob. So hats off to Plato.
Yeah, Plato had some spectacular Ash play for Boise State, including on Havana, where he had, I think, 2 ults and 4 fights to help Boise State start to snowball there. We see the amount of value he was able to get, picking up, I think, the play of the game from Blizzard on Anubis with that pick right there. So congratulations to Plato. He is your ICCU player of the game. Idaho Central Credit Union believes a great player makes a team more successful. It's like Idaho Central is helping their members achieve financial success. For our semifinal against Bryant Stratton, a 3-2 win, Plato is the Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game. Take a look at those highlights, and he's a huge reason why Boise State has a chance at one of their 2 championships here. It's the Play versus Championships coming up right around the corner. You have any final thoughts from our semifinal, though, Brenner, before we take a break and come back?
It was definitely a hard-fought match, and as I mentioned, that's definitely a team you want to scrim from now on out, because being the underdogs, if they're able to upset that much, they were able to learn a thing or two. So that's definitely something Boise State's going to have to keep an eye on, is that people are learning your strats, so you got to just play better, play your comfort picks, and hopefully going into this finals match, they're able to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, on paper, you'd have to think the finals match between either Akron or University of North Texas is going to be a lot harder, as they were the 2 and the 3 seed in this tournament. And with Bryant Stratton giving Boise State all they can handle and then some, who knows what's going to happen in the championship. But we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with the Play versus Championship. Boise State's locked in their spot. Now they're looking for the win. We'll be right back, but don't forget, we've got our top 5 plays brought to you by the Idaho Army National Guard from the semifinals coming up first.
The news says Gen Z is struggling. I've got news for them.
I wait tables, but last week I built a field hospital.
I put out a forest fire.
I stopped 1,000 attackers.
And a natural disaster.
I've saved lives. And led a team on patrol.
I serve.
Well, I go to school full-time.
While I work full-time.
The greater the challenge, the stronger we become.
Texas will be playing to play the winner of this game and see if Boise State Overwatch can claim their first.
The Brig. So it looks like Boise State should have this fight, but with the brawl going on, they're going all in on that narrow wall because Winston on the point is able to just go back and forth. As we see a quick little cleaning up from Boise State on Bryant with QBL just trying to hold it. We see the sleep perfectly nail onto Fabian, who's dead-eyeing. So great on a large bagel, able to hit that.
It was a large bagel, but Goblin picks up a double kill. OBL forced out of the mech. Boise State should be able to pick up this one. As trying Everlong was for one last ditch, huge Deadeye, not able to get it. Narwhal's going to be able to contest on the point. He blocks the shatter, but his corpse just runs right into the payload. And Boise State will put themselves on match point. Only going to land onto 2 for Boise State, but they are going to be able to boot 1 off the edge. Unfortunately, Large Bagel will fall down as well. A little bit of karma there for him. But Boise State, huge hack onto Cole the Crazy, shutting down that sound barrier as well. And that is going to be Goblin on a champion that you and I maybe, thought wouldn't work out, making a back-to-back huge plays for Boise State. Damage, burning down Brian Stratton. Tetsuo goes down before he can get the rally off. There's a whole hog that gets immediately stopped as a double kill from the Dynamite comes out. Molten Core and a last-ditch effort for Everlong to save the point. Boise State's got to be careful as Goblin nearly burns to death. But Boise State's going to be able to wrap this one up with a great flank from Goblin, and that's why it's always in Doc's keys to the game.
Matrix now coming out with Sound Barrier online for the side of Boise State to keep members alive. Guac now just getting his shatter online. Try to finish off this final push from the side of Brian. With Plato now just getting a double, and it looks like Boise State is taking it with Plato getting a total triple out of that final fight, and it's a team wipe.
Welcome back into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. We've got back-to-back championships left here for Boise State. We'll start with Play Versus, and then we'll end with the NECC. Boise State barely surviving against Bryant Stratton, taking all 5 games as the underdog, coming out with the unique strategy. They upset quite a few teams, and they nearly added Boise State to that list, but they were barely able to come out on top. Were the Broncos, and now they face a familiar opponent, the University of North Texas, the Mean and Green, the 2 seed. Only 1 loss all season. That was to Boise State. These teams met in week 5 of the regular season. Boise State was 3-1 winners over UNT, and UNT just got done 3-0ing Akron. So this is a North Texas team that's ready to play. They have revenge on their mind, Brenner, as Fish and Redder Bear still holding down all of the action. And for Boise State coming off this marathon of a game while North Texas could kind of just sit back and wait, you have to wonder if fatigue does become an issue if this goes into game 4 or game 5. We didn't see many overtime games. I don't think we actually saw a single overtime game against Bryant Stratton, but you start getting overtime where you're pushing multiple points. I mean, Boise State could truly be gassed by the end of this Play Versus championship.
Yeah, and on top of that, afterwards they got the NECC finals, which is a best of 7. So fatigue is definitely a huge concern for our Boise State team as we go into it, and especially after that very tough fought match versus that Bryant Stratton team. You have to wonder, what is Boise State going to pull out to keep that momentum coming?
Yeah, good news for them, though. This is a North Texas team that they expected to be in this championship game. They played them already. They definitely were saying, okay, well, it's probably going to be Akron, North Texas. They did their homework there correctly, and they know what North Texas wants to bring out. I can mention it was a 3-1 victory in the regular season for Boise State, so they've got the tape on North Texas. They probably have a game plan. Just talking in between the break with some of the Boise State coaches, they said Bryant Stratton had a very unique strategy that not a lot of teams were ready for. They thought they had the answer. Didn't have the answer as well as they probably would have liked, but still had some dominating victories. But we go now to our final best of 5 here for the Play Versus. Boise State Overwatch trying to join Wasey Williams as a champion here for Bronco Esports. Wasey picked up 2 in Madden, and now Boise State Overwatch is trying to get it done with hopefully 2 of their own. But first, they got to focus on this one. It's Boise State, it's North Texas. We'll start on control, and much like we talked about, the high seed gets map choice. which means Boise State gets to pick where we're going first. Despite the loss to Bryant Stratton on Lijiang Tower, I would assume we'll go back to Lijiang, but Nepal's always an option with how Boise State kind of rolled Bryant Stratton on that last one. So it'll be very interesting to see if the previous match plays with the minds of Boise State going into this championship, or if they've cleared their head, they say, look, we like our chances on Lijiang. It didn't work out against Bryant Stratton, but we're going to run it back against North Texas.
Yeah, hopefully we do see a return to Lijiang, especially so they can redeem themselves and also maybe try to learn how to counter that pharmacy if we do see it from the side of North Texas, because it really did disrupt our defensive strat for that map, and we were never able to really hold that point for too long. Same with a lot of the boops from OBL on the side of Wrecking Ball. So that's something that you have to be able to learn how to answer, and maybe that's here where they do it.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how the tanks for North Texas want to play. I thought OBL, despite, I mean, the stats aren't going to be in his favor, but he played that wrecking ball perfectly. You jump in, you just be basically a gnat, and you annoy the other team, and they blow all of your cooldowns on you, and then you're just able to roll either back away or right back into the fight. But we get Doc's keys to the game. Talk about never take a fair fight. What does that mean? Well, it means take fights at unexpected places when they are unprepared and when you can have ability advantages. It's all brought to you by Count, because they trust Global Network delivers real-time fraud prevention, account protection, enables a personalized customer experience from the 9,000 leading brands and payment providers. Also has quick and accurate identity trust decisions to help you deliver safe payment, account creation, and log-in events. If you want to stay safe online, go check them out at count.com, KOUNT.com. It's a play versus championship here for Boise State. Overwatch trying to claim their first title of the season. They've got the NECC coming up right after, and who knows, Mountain West is only in its regular season. It could be a three-peat for Boise State Overwatch this semester, but right now they got to focus on game number one, map number one. It is Control. We see the members of Boise State on the screen there. They were undefeated in the regular season once this Boise State squad. They took down North Texas 3-1, and they're looking to make sure they wrap things up nice and quickly here so they can focus on, as you mentioned, Brenner, a potential best-of-7 series in the NECC coming up after this. And I think it really comes down to the map choice here for Boise State's going to go a long way in telling me, do they think that Lijiang was more of a fluke from Bryant Stratton, or do they say, you know what, let's second guess it, let's go back to Nepal where they picked last in Game 5 against Bryant Stratton and won. That's going to tell me a lot about the mental state of Boise State heading into this championship.
Yeah, really well, and hopefully we see one or the other, because either way, Boise State will perform very well. It's the ones they have practiced the most, and especially with how well they did on Nepal, I wouldn't be surprised if they did go back to it just to be like, we're really fresh. This is fresh in our minds. We're just going right back into it, so let's just keep going with it. And same with if we go back to hybrid, if we see a repeat of Havana or not to try to win that defensive strat early on, or if they go straight for attacking, if they're able to roll it a lot faster than they did last time.
It looks like it will be Nepal, so Boise State, as you mentioned, Brendan maybe says, look, it just worked. Why not go right back to it? I know from the quarterfinals and the round of 16, Boise State had kind of said, look, Lijiang's our best map by a long shot. That's where we always want to go. But they say, you know, Nepal just worked for us. Maybe they are worried that North Texas might have something up their sleeve similar to what Bryant Stratton had. So it's Nepal first. Boise State gets the pick. We'll head to Assault afterwards, which we have to think will be Temple of Anubis. That's been far away the most common choice when we've had to play 2 CP, but right now it's Control, it's Nepal, it's game one of the play versus championship, the 1 seed and the 2 seed, Boise State, UNT. UNT wants revenge, Boise State wants the perfect season.
Yeah, I have to see if they perform just as well on this Nepal map, as we already do see early on that Diva, the Winston, and the Farah coming out, so hopefully that's the side of Boise State, as the Pharmacy has yet to be played to a successful point that you want to see for our team here. We do see on the other side, it looks like they at least have a Diva and a Lucio and a Rhine. So a little bit different comp on both sides tank-wise. Hopefully Guac is on that Winston to disrupt that backlane the best he can, but at the same time, we can see that Rhine Shatter coming in for that close-range fight on point as we jump right into it.
Does look like it'll be Boise State in the blue, North Texas in the red, and Alias going to be taken very low, so is Aqua. They both get stunned. Mech already going to be taken away. Aspect on that Somber trying to get some backline value. Goblin reads that teleport perfectly. And it's already 2 dead for the mean and green, and Boise State looking strong. They already have a Shatter online. My goodness, Guac, he's popping off, and Boise State's just going to say, go back to spawn, North Texas, and try again.
Yeah, Guac getting that Shatter so quickly is nothing but impressive. He must have hit all 6 members with that Flame Strike to get maximum percentage, and then just went in swinging. Maybe even possible pin came out. So that is nothing but impressive on the side of Boise State. with Asu already being at 92% for that amplification matrix as well. It looks like they're just going to try to speed boost in, but the flame strike from the Squawk able to take out Hawkins really early on. So being down that DPS is terrible for the side of North Texas, as we see the mutual stun coming out with Goblin even able to eliminate Joe early on, with Aspect only being able to take out Guac, and the rest of Boise State able to wipe up the rest of North Texas.
Yeah, the only bad thing that happened there for Boise State is they're going to try and stagger Alias. He'll get an icicle to the dome. Is that Guac did end up committing that shatter, but the hammer didn't land in time, so that will be a waste at all for Boise State. But you see Aqua's only at 42%. Guac could easily beat him to another shatter. Plato has the Blizzard up. There's really not much on the side of North Texas. They are about 25% away from that sound barrier. The Maywall goes up in front of Plato. He's looking for a flank. He's going to have the high ground to throw this Blizzard down right where he wants. Get a perfect freeze onto that McCree. Just barely rolls away. Blizzard is going to go down. Hawkins going to be taken out. So will Aqua's. The Immortality Field immediately falls, and maybe Boise State just needed to warm up against Bryant Strat, because they have absolutely handled North Texas here on our first map.
Yeah, this has been nothing but brutal. We saw Asu also committed that amplification matrix in the first fight and already is back up to 50%. We see Guac committed Shatter, already back up to 60%, whereas Aqua's only at 61. We saw Blizzard already committed. He's up to 11%. Goblin, Kel, and a large Bagel all have their ults going into this next fight, with North Texas just now getting their first 3.
There's the Deadeye. A couple of Maywalls are going to block it, and a huge Death Blossom takes down Hawkins. Sound Barrier is going to come out for both teams here. Shields will fade. Diva Bomb from Alias will be used as Boise State gets another elimination. Both DPS from North Texas are taken out. The Mean and Green not even going to be able to contend much on the point here. They get a shatter, the first of the game from Aqua, but all it does is delay the inevitable. As Boise State goes chasing on to Alias, the Diva Mech will be taken out, and just like that, Boise State absolutely handles North Texas in map number 1.
That was nothing short of brutal stomping. Hawkins pretty much the first elimination in every team fight. So not having that McCree, not having that stun was detrimental for North Texas, it seems, because once he was gone, they just fell right apart. We only saw Aspect of her get 1 elimination, and that was it. So now we're going to see a little bit swappage on both sides, with Plato now going to the Symmetra for the early teleporter, and then North Texas Aspect going over to the Doomfist.
I'd be curious to see if that Doomfist is the pick there for North Texas. We know the power of what it can be, and if he's able to stay on that back line of a large Bagel and Asu, it could be an issue for Boise State. But no, Aspect will actually swap over to the Symmetra. He'll put the teleporter down, go back to the Doomfist. Looks like for Boise State, Plato is going to stay on the Symmetra. So a little bit of a difference there, as immediately Boise State gets onto the point first. If they're able to win this and Plato can get those turrets up, it's going to be a hassle for North Texas to be able to recontest. As an Immortality Field already used there by Joe, Boise State will immediately punish that. Both the tanks from the Broncos do get stunned with a flashbang from Hawkins, as Kel will only lose his mech. Aqua will be taken out as well. No main tank available. Boise State looks like they should be able to cap the point. They just all are going running in a team deathmatch style. Finally, they remember that this is an objective-based game, as the rest of the team gets 2 more kills, and Boise State will start with the point first once again.
I'd be terrified to see what a TDM match in Overwatch for our Boise State team against North Texas would look like, because they have just been rolling over them. But at least North Texas is building a lot of ult percentage out of that fight with their amplification matrix at 90%. If not, they're going to have it for this next fight. But on tank-wise, Guac has been farming that shatter the best they can, as Hawkins finally is not the first eliminated, is able to get Goblin up on that top ledge with Aspect on this Doomfist come flying in. Boise State playing a little bit further back. Amplification Matrix now just comes up with Plato and Asu getting 2 eliminations onto Missile and Aspect, with Alias only able to take out Guac, but then Kel is able to take out Aqua with Plato getting a double onto Joe and Alias. Goblin then getting revenge onto Hawkins, and just like that, they won the team fight, and it's a team wipe.
Yeah, that was a great answer there for Boise State. First elimination, they finally get a pick on the Goblin, and then immediately they get the floor wiped with them. There will be only 1 ult up for North Texas. It will be the Shatter. Deadeye should come up as well, and we'll see if the Sound Barrier charges. Boise State, meanwhile, has their Sound Barrier, and they're quite close to a Death Blossom, as Goblin was right behind. Aspect saw him, but just a little too late. Deadeye does take down a large Bagel, so no Sound Barrier up for Boise State. Goblin, forced to commit the Wraith form, will get at least 1 as a huge 5-man shatter comes out from Guac. He lands a huge one onto Aqua. It's a right diff, and it's a Boise State win.
North Texas fatigue must have set in, because they I believe they 3-0'd their last opponent in that matchup for the 2-3 seed match off. So you think they'd just be rolling on that high of just, hey, we 3-0'd some guys, we're going to go fight the #1 seed, we want revenge, we got this. And they've just been getting rolled by Boise State after a very close game with Brian Strayton. So you have to wonder, why do they keep going to the top right? If Goblin's been such an issue for them, they have to try to eliminate him early on. But even when they did that, they were not able to win the team fight. So hopefully with this ult advantage, they'll be able to take it, as we're already in overtime. Boise State, both Diva Bombs coming out from both sides, and Sound Barrier for the side of North Texas. The Diva Bomb is able to eliminate the Baby Diva Kel, but Plato's already eliminating members of North Texas, with Guac getting a double elimination. Goblin able to take off Aspect as well. So now North Texas trying to go for the all dive, but not a single member even able to get on point. Boise State wins the first map.
Yeah, quick work there for Boise State, coming out strong on Nepal. Absolutely rolling over the side of North Texas. The mean and green not standing a chance, as Plato will pick up the first play of the game here in our Play versus Championship. And I mean, when you're on that Symmetron, you have all those turrets set up. I mean, you just shoot your laser beam and throw down a photon barrier, let your turrets do the rest of it as well.
Yeah, and it's not even old Symmetra where it would auto lock, so you just hold mouse 1 and point at them and they die. So good on Plato, and he was never answered the entire time by the side of North Texas. So hopefully they adapt to that going into this next map.
Yeah, we see the power of the scouting for Boise State. Like I said, this was expected to be the two teams they're expecting were North Texas and Akron. They met on the other side of the bracket. North Texas won 3-0, and Boise State clearly showed that 3-1 in the regular season, at least for now, was no fluke, as they take care of business quite quickly over the University of North Texas. Still a long way to go, though. Bryant Stratton won game 1, and it was a slugfest in our semifinal. We will stick with Assault, though. It's not going to be Temple of Anubis, though, as it is pick 4 North Texas, and we'll see what the Mean and Green have in store. But with the way we just saw the last 2 games go on Control, you have to wonder if North Texas is really going to stand much of a chance on Assault, because that is the most snowbally, skill-based map there is. And Boise State, if they play like they do on Control, they're just going to roll right over them.
Yeah, North Texas got to pull out all the stops here if they want to start Boise State from rolling over them like we just saw. They weren't able to win a single team fight at best. Like, they got to point, couldn't cap it once. It was just a brutal decimation of their team. And Goblin, even when they took him out early on, the rest of the team still won the fight, being down a member. So you have to ask, what can North Texas do to come back? Do they have this secret pocket that they can just pull out? So going into Volsky Industries on the defense, you want to see hopefully some sort of aerial defense from either an Echo or even a Hanzo being able to climb up the walls with the scouting arrow, or the pharmacy.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what North Texas, they have map choice, so they clearly have some sort of strategy in mind. And that is the one thing, as we saw in the Bryant Stratton series, the team that picked didn't always have the most success. As we've seen defensively, we've got an Echo and a Mercy. I know North Texas flashed the Echo a little bit towards the end in Nepal, didn't really see much value from it. So I'll be curious to see if it is North Texas defending or not. I'm very curious to see how Boise State handles it, that they continue to roll as we kick off game number 2. Looks like Boise State will be attacking first. So it will be that Echo and Mercy on the side of North Texas, who's now in the blue. Boise State in the red. Goblin on that Widowmaker, needed to try to get some huge value, preferably onto that Mercy to deny the res. This Aspect is going to be the first one taken out, but if you can't punish the res, none of that matters. And just like that, Missile's able to get the res. You saw that Plato was in there trying to punish him, and instead he'll be taken out himself, and Hawkins gets one back onto Goblin.
Yeah, already down both DPS players. We're going to see Boise State probably backing off already. Hopefully Goblin swapping off of that Widowmaker, not really getting the pressure that you need of, say, a Reaper or even a McCree at that range. So maybe Plato on this Tracer is able to disrupt, but with them constantly having the high ground, it's not advantageous for her, with Alias dropping very low, but quickly getting healed back up by his team. We are seeing a lot of ult percentage on the side of Boise State, but they can get there with Guac diving right up, with Plato able to eliminate Missile. So hopefully with that res denied, they'll be able to push and take out multiple members of North Texas as this next engagement is going for the side of Boise State. But sadly, Guac is fallen and he can't get up.
Yeah, Boise State, unfortunately, without their tank. They do have Goblin, though, and Plato as well. They have Aqua quite low. There's a Nano that's going to heal him to full, though. And that is going to be an issue for Boise State. They'll trade out a large bagel for Alias, as Boise State does get a tank taken out. Pulse Bomb only gets a hit marker there for Plato. He is dangerously low, sitting at 18 health. And trying to kite members of North Texas in circles. Finally does get a heal, puts some damage onto Aqua, but that Primal Rage means that Monkey's going to have a 1,000 HP heal in his back pocket as Asu gets taken out. And Plato over here with his wild, wacky adventures. Going to make sure he doesn't get picked off.
Yeah, it's been a very split apart team fight that's kind of just never ended, as it's just been Plato dashing around, poking as much as he can, trying to pull members of North Texas back, with the rest of Boise State just running onto point, dying, as we see now North Texas calling in their Bob, but Boise State able to just line aside it or put him to sleep. Hopefully no one wakes him up at least. Give Bob some nice little needed rest, as the Tac Visor also comes out for Boise State, and then Rally coming out. Grab close behind with Duplicate onto Zarya as well. Aqua's put to sleep with Primal Rage, so hopefully buying Boise State a little bit of time on that, with Asu trying to not get knocked off the edge, booping him away the best he can, with Aqua still eventually being able to eliminate him. Kel able to eliminate Aspect, with Guac taking out Aqua. Goblins finally able to land a headshot onto Hawkins, with Guac then taking out Alias. It looks like this will be a Boise State point after a very long-winded fight.
Yeah, most impressive is that North Texas actually threw a double grab at Boise State. One from Aspect with the Duplicate, one from Alias, and Boise State did not lose a single member. And for Alias, it's a huge waste of a powerful ultimate. Obviously, Aspect with that Duplicate just trying to do what he can. And we'll see now only the single ult up for North Texas. It's only the Valkyrie. Boise State, meanwhile, sitting on 3 of their own. And we'll see if they're able to sort of snowball on to this point B and wrap things up in a hurry. Aspect gets taken out. Guaxago jumping in. Pulse Bomb from Plato, not able to find any value. And there's that Valkyrie committed from Missile. They're going to nano on to Kel. And unfortunately, Goblin is going to be the first elimination, and Anthony lands on the Guac. He's got the Primal Rage. Aqua falls first. Can they make sure they deny the res for Missile is going to be the issue. There's a nano onto Aspect, who's getting boosted now by 2 different members. They don't deny the res onto Aqua, and that means Boise State is unfortunately going to have to be forced to reset. Primal Rage comes out from Guac, but losing Kel is going to mean Boise State with that respawn advantage clearly in North Texas' favor. They're not even going to get much more than just 1 tick.
Yeah, we do see Goblin finally swapping over to the Ashe for the increased DPS output, as he was only able to get 1 or 2 picks on that Widowmaker and didn't make all the difference that much. So hopefully this will with that Dynamite. But it looks like he's going to go back to McCree this time, swapping around, losing a little bit of ult percentage. So he's just going to get that ever so much later, as North Texas now, most of their ults coming online for both DPS, with Primal Rage right behind it. Now Guac also swapping over to the Reinhardt, going more of the traditional defense, with now Asu also on the BAP, and a large bagel swapping over to the Lucio. Guac falling very low after getting stunned by Hawkins. We're going to see the Duplicate come out onto Aspect, and Kel holds followed behind the large bagel and Asu getting taken out, and it looks like Boise State's already having to reset.
I mean, North Texas coming alive here in game number 2. They picked the map on Assault, and so far they have absolutely dominated. Boise State, half their time gone by now trying to get B. And you do see there's a grab up, and there's not much of an answer for North Texas, but they do have their own grab, so we might just see a grab used defensively from one of the teams to keep themselves alive, as a large bag will not have a sound barrier up to stop the grab of North Texas, as Boise State will slowly go right into the face of them. Grab's going to come out from Kel. You're going to get a Pulse Bomb as well. Picks up 1. Alias will be taken out, but not before his own grab comes down. Boise State is able to use the Immortality Field, keep themselves alive for the most part. It gets taken down. Primal Rage plus a nano from Aqua. He's able to keep him alive. Goblin's going to make sure he stays behind the pillar with that Deadeye. Lands a great stun as well. And as soon as the health fades, Boise State is able to pick up Aqua on that Winston. They've already got 2 ticks, but the respawns have now started to come out for North Texas. Boise State needs to win 1 more clean fight, and they can at least guarantee overtime as they get 3 picks immediately. Valkyrie comes out for Missile, but he doesn't get onto the point in time of Boise State. Minute 6 on the clock. They'll get 2.
As soon as Goblin went to that McCree, they were able to just hold out, and they got the grab first, they got the Pulse Bomb, and they were able to get those early eliminations, forcing the swap, which means the loss of that ult percentage as well. So good on them. Again, Goblin on that McCree, able to hold off the nanoed Winston for most of his ult, denying that utility, and as soon as he came back, he lost it and was fallen immediately. So really good on Boise State, able to utilize that. But once again, got to give it to North Texas. They bought a ton of time on that final point. Only a minute remaining for Boise State if we do go into overtime.
It's going to be all come down to really how quickly North Texas can get this first point. It took Boise State quite a long time. They continuously were stalled out. We even saw Goblin almost go over to point B before it is even capturable. And so we'll see if North Texas has a more efficient strategy, because if Boise State can bleed out clock, and then you can survive that first push from North Texas after they get point A, it can definitely be a very long fight for point B. And it also, as we saw, it can be very punishing even if you get a 1-for-1 trade. With the respawn advantage in the defender's favor, North Texas was able to stall it for quite a long time. Plus, they had the mercy on defense. Doesn't look like, though, offensively they have the mercy.
Yeah, this time they're bringing out their Diva, their Bap, their McCree. Have to see what else they're bringing out. They have a Lucio this time. So no aerial defense or offense, it seems. Yeah, they also have the Rhine this time for a bit of a slower push. That Symmetra teleport right onto a large bagel, eliminating very quickly, but Goblin is able to answer onto elimination of the Lucio. So now being down that boosted support, they're going to have to try to wait up top and wait for his return as Goblin begins to try to wreak as much havoc as he can, but is eliminated by Alias on that Diva. So now being down to DPS, Boise State has to pretty much go full stall here as they jump down on the point, and Guac being very low with no supports around. Plato's able to get a double elimination onto the Lucio and Aqua this time on that Rhine. So now it's Hawkins has to answer with a elimination onto Asu of that Mercy. But having a Mercy and no Far or Echo is not the best or what you want to see, as Hawkins is able to eliminate Plato and Aspect, takes out Kel. Boise State has to give up this first point very early on.
Yeah, the Symmetra teleports from Aspect were absolutely phenomenal, really making it so Boise State never had a great pinpoint onto North Texas, and they're going to have about 2 minutes more than Boise State did. They have 2 ults up already. Boise State has nothing but a Valkyrie, as an Ant Matrix and a Deadeye will come out. Boise State line of sighting, though, will be able to stay alive. Aqua's going to eat an anti, but he will be able to heal back up as the Valkyrie is committed here by Asu. Goblin is the first elimination, though. Aspect put to sleep. Immortality Field has to be put down immediately, and it will be cleared from Joe. And now Boise State has their own ults. Bob gets called in. Primal Rage is used. Guac barely survives being booped off the edge. Can't quite get any environmental kills of his own, though. Bob does manage to gun down Joe. And it looks like the health bars for North Texas means that first push is not going to get them anything. They have committed the Diva Bomb to be able to remech, and now Boise State looks like they'll wrap things up here, and they still have 3 ults.
Yeah, Goblin eliminating both tanks was definitely a huge bonus for winning that team fight with no front line. They were able to quickly wipe up that back line as we see him get the final elimination onto the Lucio as well. North Texas sticking with what they got. Same with Boise State, not swapping off, keeping that ult percentage the best they can. And now with Meteor Strike, as we see Asu now swapping over to the Brig, losing that little bit of Valkyrie that he had, but definitely a smarter decision with how brawly this fight has been. Goblin sneaking up behind the best he can, trying to get an early cheeky elimination, even Meteor striking away to try to save his life. No elimination coming out from that either. We're going to see the Sentry get eliminated, but she can spawn more, so it doesn't matter. All 6 ults up for the side of North Texas. We see both supports come out, and then the Wall, as well as Deadeye, both tanks still holding onto their ults. We're going to see this Nano come out from the side of Boise State onto Guac, but he's quickly eliminated as the grab comes out onto 4 members of North Texas, with Dynamite lighting them all up, but with all heroes alive, Aspect getting a double kill. Goblin only able to eliminate Hawkins. It's down to Goblin right now to try to stall as long as he can, but he is quickly eliminated by Aspect, with Joe also eliminating Plato. And North Texas takes it with 3 minutes and 44 seconds remaining. The pressure is on for Boise State.
You know, we talked about just the snowball there out of Salt. I mean, 6 ults committed by North Texas in that final fight to make sure that they could 3-cap there and send us to overtime, and they're going to have quite the time advantage, and over triple the amount of time that Boise State has. 3 minutes and 44 seconds for North Texas, only 106 for the Broncos, and so Boise State's going to have quite the quick attack on first point and immediately transition on to second point. Meanwhile, North Texas will have some time to play with, and this is definitely going to be North Texas' favorite here in game number 2.
Yeah, Boise State is definitely balls to the wall, go all in for this, only having a minute. At best, they're going to have 2 team fights if they rush it at best and get wiped so quickly early on. But if not, it's just going to be an all-out brawl on both first and second point. And it definitely seems that this is North Texas's map, as they did pick it, but they have the most strats, at least for Volskaya. So I'll have to see if they're able to keep this defensive up, or will they get rolled by Boise State for the first time on this map? And if so, then it's theirs.
Yeah, a lot of pressure here on Boise State. I mean, not only attacking, but also defensively. They've got to come up with a strategy on the fly for what will most likely be another use of the Symmetra teleporter. Really, I mean, multiple uses there by Aspect that really kept Boise State on the back foot. But first, Boise State's got to worry about attacking. Already down under a minute. They're going to need to win this first fight immediately and try and transition on. North Texas know this. They're just going to dive right in. Asu's the first elimination. Immortality Field comes down from Joe. Both supports taken out. Guac will fall as well. Boise State's going to try and run for a reset, but Kel can't quite make it. Gobble gets taken out. Plato just jumps off of a reset, and now full comp swap here for Boise State. They're going to have one final chance here with 30 seconds, so they can only hope of capping point A.
Yeah, if you want to rush the point, you definitely don't want to see Galban on that Widowmaker, not even getting pretty much any damage, getting shielded out by Aqua on that Ryan. So now with the entire team up on that roof, they're going to deny it as long as they can. With only 10 seconds remaining, they have to speed boost to the point as well as they can. And an amazing Maywall coming out from Aspect, blocking off the support. So no more Lucio speed boost, with Aqua and Hawkins quickly taking out a large Bagel and Plato, with Aspect following it up onto Guac. But now Kel takes out Joe and is the only one to even survive, and with only Goblin on point, he has to try to hold out quick time, overtime as long as he can for any of his teammates to come back. But Kel in Baby Diva form, Hawkins dead eyes, it's all over for Boise State on the attack. Not even 0.1% on the board.
Now North Texas knew they could basically bully Boise State with that minute 6, and they did just exactly that. So North Texas set up in a very, very favorable spot here to pick up the win. But if Boise State could come out with a fantastic defense, we could end up in our tie here. As we see here, 4-play versus. This is the championship game between Boise State and North Texas. The Broncos won control in dominant fashion, but Assault has been a different story as North Texas has come alive. And you watch for Aspect here if he runs back on that Symmetra to just have North Texas teleporting all over, but instead he'll at least hint to Genji, but I have to suspect that will not last the 37 seconds we have to wait.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a good showing, as we're already seeing some new heroes on both sides, with Aspect on the Genji and now Asu on the Moira. So some definitely new faces, as Plato's now on the Doomfist instead of Goblin. Goblin's on the Tracer, swapping it up as we lose that lineup of heroes. But for Boise State defense, you have to wonder what can they pull out to deny this North Texas even getting a pip on that point, because once they do, it is theirs, and they take this second map, making it 1-1. So if when we move on to hybrid, do we go back to Havana, where Boise State warmed up on, or do we go to something new that maybe North Texas is more comfortable on, with Guac trying to disrupt as much as he can, taking a lot of early damage from Aspect on the Symmetra that we know he is very good with, trying to kill that teleporter before most of his team can use it, but it looks like a lot of them got away up above behind the Boise State defense. Trying to go for those supports that have able to capitalize so many times, with Guac or Kel getting knocked off this time, as they have swapped heroes this time, with now Guac on this Wrecking Ball and Kel on the Winston. Guac trying to disrupt as much as he can. The charge comes in, unable to get anybody. Goblin clearing up that backline the best he can on the weaker heroes. Looks like North Texas is going to have to reset, with now Aspect on the Sombra to counter Plato.
Yeah, and that was a great first fight for Boise State. The problem is they have to do that probably 3 or 4 more times, as you said, without letting North Texas get a single tick onto the point. Boise State does have a couple ults coming online soon. North Texas, with that change for Aspect, not going to have much in the way of ults besides that Ant Matrix, as a Pulse Bomb will miss. Plato will get taken out. They'll burn through the Immortality Field that Joe slams down, but Boise State will simply retreat and wait for Plato to get back into the fight. Aspect nearly picked off Minefield does come down from Guac, though, as an Ant Matrix is used by Joe. Boise State doing a nice job line of signing and even getting the pick, but they'll trade support for support. They do take down the second one, though, for North Texas. The great Minefield, and Guac getting some huge value, as it looks like Boise State will hold for this fight as well. They have 2 more ults coming up online for the next one.
Yeah, Boise State definitely pulling out all the stops that you want to see from the #1 seed team in this play versus tournament. And in this finale, you're also seeing North Texas pulling out as many stops as they can on the attack, but simply Boise State's defense has been holding. They've been having the ult advantage and then been utilizing it. Those mines were perfect placement right underneath the bridge, and they had to run through them. We saw the amplification matrix come up from North Texas, and it was immediately dodged and line of sight. We're going to see the beam come out for Moira, trying to heal up the tanks as much as she can and burn through that Rhine shield, but she's going to get shattered out of it. We're going to see then a triple kill come out from the side of North Texas, trying to push on to point. Boise State's not looking too good right now.
No, now they're going to get a hack on a Goblin. That will probably spell doom for the Tracer. As we see a large bagel get taken out, Goblin barely survives, but nobody was on the point to contest, and North Texas will end up winning it. And North Texas will tie us here at a game apiece in the Play versus Championship.
This was definitely North Texas's map, no question about it, with how quickly they dominated that attack. So we get a quick look at the play of the game with Guac getting it on this defense, able to eliminate tanks, and with those beautiful mine placements, definitely helped his team hold out for as long as they could.
Yeah, unfortunately, just 3 minutes and 44 seconds, just a little bit too much time for Boise State to hold off on. And we'll go to game number 3, and much like we had in the semifinals, we're tied at 1 aside. Well, the Idaho Boise State Esports is a proud supporter of Idaho Codes, a sponsored summer computer science program open to all 7th to 12th grade students in every Idaho school district, teaching coding and programming courses. Students who complete Idaho Codes have various credit opportunities and can network with those in the industry. Please encourage students in every district to register at www.idahocodes.org. The program is free for the first 1,000 students registered, and there are options to participate either on campus or online. They're also looking for local college students with a background in coding to be mentors for Idaho Codes. Pays $2,000. You can get more information at ctusutah.org/apps. Boise State and North Texas trying to figure out who will be the Play versus Overwatch champion. Boise State with 6 championship games in 6 days in a number of their programs, and they have 2 in their belt already. They're looking to potentially add 2 more with Play versus an NECC for Overwatch coming up here. And right now, Boise State and North Texas heading on to map 3. It'll be Escort. Maybe we'll see Havana again with Boise State picking. That's what they picked against Bryant Stratton, and they absolutely dominated the Bobcats. So there's no reason why, unless they think North Texas has a strategy, that we don't go back to Havana.
Yeah, we saw Goblin on that Widow for the first attack on that final round. So maybe they want to go back to Havana so Goblin can flex that Widow that we saw against Brian Stratton in our previous game. Or maybe we see something completely new that might throw off North Texas.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see. So far in their championship, it's actually going to be Wanch-Troy Gibraltar that will be picked. So Boise State also loves this map as well. They especially love to defend right underneath, right where it slopes down. And you can kind of they get very stally with the Sombra and a May, so a very good strat. They've rolled teams in Play versus like Oregon State multiple times with that strat. And so far, whoever's picked the map is win. Boise State is the high seed, got control pick. North Texas then respawned with a great win on Volskaya. So we'll head to Watch-Point Gibraltar. Boise State picked it. It's a map they love, and we'll see if they can hold serve and put themselves on championship point.
You have to see if the prophecy is true that when you pick the map, you get the win. And with this Boise State strat, as you mentioned, the close hold has worked out so well for them. They can stall for a ton of time, and if not, they can immediately stall right underneath the bridge in that side pocket, now even with that better health pack. So that can definitely work out for them with the Sombra being able to hack it and get it twice as fast. So you have to see if that pays off for them. They don't need the Mercy or anything for that aerial combat. They can just hold close and stall for as long as they can. Maybe even a possible Ashe for that extra team member, the best team member. Bob comes out. Have to wait and see what even North Texas has to answer. Maybe they go totally match their brawl with, say, a Reaper McCree, go really close range and dive right in.
Does look to be interesting to see how this is going to go. Looks like this should be, I would think, North Texas defending. This isn't the typical Boise State comp they like to run. And it will be North Texas defending, as Goblin will throw down a teleporter, and then he will immediately chop over to that Tracer, trying to get some early value. He sees a Brig in the corner, and that might be his target of choice, as Aqua's going to spot out the Tracer. He's forced to rewind to get a little bit of healing. 87 still not where he wants to be, especially with the Tesla cannon shocking him down. So he'll just hop onto the payload, and Boise State will start pushing. Because right now North Texas has no interest in contesting, and Boise State really hasn't had any great picks as the two Winstons go at it. Finally, Alias is able to take down Guac, but Boise State's just pushing along the payload. They just want to make sure they don't get caught underneath where they have held a lot of teams.
Yeah, that's definitely the spot where you want to try to snowball right past, because if you get stuck here, you'll be stuck there for a long time. That siege can take you way too many minutes that you don't want to have with how much we've seen North Texas snowball in the past on Volskaya. So hopefully they're able to push right through it. Hopefully we also see Goblin get some value on these teams all the way up top, with that Tracer being probably the highest move speed in the game with those blinks. And with North Texas having both DPS ults online, with Nano close behind, Boise State with Pulse Bomb close behind, Nano a bit further. Have to see if they're going to answer with those ults when needed. So this next team fight is very much possibly North Texas, unless they are able to eliminate these DPSs first.
3 ults up for North Texas here. Boise State trying to get a pick. There's the Nano that's going to go out onto Aqua. Could maybe been better used onto Alias as he gets taken out. Hawkins will fall as well. Primal Rage is committed by Guac as he picks up a double kill for himself. Looking for one more. Gets hit by the Ante, but no sleep this time. And he's going to be able to take down Missile. And an absolute insane solo play from Guac, as Asu's the only one who gets taken out by a Pulse Bomb. Boise State wins a fight they probably shouldn't. Goblin answers back. There's a last-ditch Jedi effort from Hawkins. He's able to stop Goblin in his tracks. Now Primal Rage comes out from Aqua, so it does look like Boise State's push will unfortunately stop moments in front of the payload. Solo grab from Kel, probably not what you were looking for if you're Boise State. And they're going to try and just keep flying in. Bob will land right onto Missile, and the solo grab works out, and Boise State on the back of Guac, able to capture that first point.
Boise State committed almost every single one of their ults to that fight, with Asu only at the 80% for the rally. Everyone else popped their ults and got all that percentage back as well. We saw the Bob, we saw the Nano onto Kel, we saw the Kel with the solo grab, as you mentioned, and the Primal, a great solo play from Guac. Have to see how this next team fight goes, with North Texas also grabbing now onto, I believe, just Kel there, trying to redeem his 1v1 situation as he just lost prior to this. We're going to see Plato able to get the dynamite onto Aspect on that Tracer, but then he is immediately slept and taken out by Hawkins. We're practically in a mirror match here. Have to just see who plays who better right now, as it's been constant 1v1s.
Yeah, mirrored across the board. Boise State, a couple of ults down, but they do pick up their Primal Rage and their Pulse Bomb. They also have a rally available. You see the Nanos up for North Texas. They want to throw it on to Aqua. That Nano Winston can be a pain. Rally is going to come out from Asu, though, to allow Boise State to continue to try and push. There's the rally from Missile as well, but North Texas hasn't really contested the point at all, and Boise State's just been pushing it right along. Finally, North Texas is forced to jump on. Nano's going to go down onto Aqua. Primal Rage is committed, though, by Guac as Aspect's first elimination. Double Ante lands. Boise State's got to be careful there. It's Asu hanging on by a sliver. Gets healed up. Aqua gets taken out. They'll trade out 3 for 1. Make it 4 as Hawkins falls, and Boise State just kind of took advantage of the fact that North Texas was sitting on the high ground the whole time. They will end up capturing that second point. Nano goes out onto Guac, but there's no target for him to find, and Boise State's going to keep chugging right along.
Yeah, that Tracer is definitely being caught out right now by Guac and is then put to sleep and taken out by Plato, so at least staggering that a little bit. We're going to see Goblin swap over to the Widowmaker and immediately take out Hawkins, establishing that sniper domination at the moment, with Aspect trying to hide up top with Primal Rage in the 1v1 battle with Guac once again. He's not going to need a pop it though to stay alive. So we do see him immediately dive onto Goblin, but now Aspect also swapping over to the Widow, gets a quick elimination onto Plato, but then Goblin eliminates Hawkins, so both Widows taking out the Ashes. This mirror match is definitely something to behold, as people are just immediately killing their counterparts, but Aspect gets the better headshot onto Goblin. Losing that DPS, we're going to see the solo grab once again come out onto the Zarya. Definitely a grudge there.
Yeah, Kel and Alias have had quite the battle. Second time now we've seen Alias solo alt Kel. Kel has one to his name, and hopefully Boise State, I'm sure, is hoping that Kel will hold that alt and not solo alt Alias here as they try and 3-cap here on Watchpoint Gibraltar in game number 3, the Play versus Championship. Multiple alts up, though, for both sides. Hawkins getting close to that Bob. If Plato can call his in quickly and maybe get a pick onto Hawkins, that would be huge. And as I say, that Bob comes online. We're going to start with the Nano, though. It's going to go on to Guac. Kel's the first elimination. He's gonna. We're also going to lose a large bagel right after that Nano goes out. They'll Nano Aqua, and Boise State basically is going to have to retreat. They'll trade 2 alts for 2, and Boise State will fall back.
Yeah, Aqua with that final double kill, cleaning up the best they can. They do have the ult advantage going into this next fight, at least. And with Guac close behind with that Primal Rage, able to answer Aqua when he pops his. Kel now does have the solo grab, able to get onto Alias. We're going to see the attack visor come out from Goblin, able to see where they are and where that enemy Widow is. Plato still holding on to Bob with Hawkins already committing his Bob. Ace is going to pop that rally as Missile's also going to pop his rally. The grab comes out. We're going to see Aspect fall to the anti-nade as Plato's throwing that dynamite down the hole, try to keep him back as long as he can. Plato's able to get elimination with Bob with Aqua, popping the Primal Rage, able to take out Goblin in the back line. And Guac gets a double kill onto both Joe and Alias as they're coming out of spawn with Kel. Able to take out Hawkins once coming out of spawn. Aspect has to swap over to the Tracer, take out Solar Bagel. Asu and Plato get 2 more as they're coming out of spawn. And Boise takes it with a minute 20 remaining.
Yeah, great grab there. Finally our first non-solo grab of Watchpoint Gibraltar, and Boise State's going to now put the pressure on North Texas here as the Broncos look to go on to match point, put themselves 1 map away from a championship. But first, got to take care of business defensively, and we'll see if they come out with their standard May Sombra. Look for a close hold early and then a recontest right underneath. They tried it against Oregon State in the round of 16. The Beavers were absolutely ready for it and wiped the floor with Boise State. They did end up stalling out in a 3-0 Boise State victory. But this is something that teams, if they've seen it, at least Oregon State was more than ready for it. We'll see if Boise State believes that North Texas has done their homework.
Yeah, you also have to think, after that semifinals match, fatigue has definitely been setting in for both teams at this point. And I think it's also been showing, as we've seen a lot of just 1v1s happening, a lot of split team pushing, and it's been working in favor for both teams. We saw early on in that second fight for the final point, North Texas won. And in the very last fight that Boise State won, it was very split push. We did see a great final not solo grab come out as well. So hopefully we see them pull it back together as Boise State's going for the traditional close hold here.
Yeah, Boise State will look to get as much value as they can on this close hold. And if they get wiped, they'll try and recontest underneath, right actually under where Goblin is standing right now, is usually where Boise State likes to recontest, and have definitely held quite a bit of teams. As Goblin tries for the backline flank, nearly gets burned down, has to translocate to safety. As we see a large bagels hit Ben of the ante now, Kel's going to be forced out of the mech. And an Maywall will go up in the comm room for Boise State to try and sustain as long as they can. Asu's Immortality Field comes out, gets burned down quite quickly. Plato going to be forced to use the Cryo Freeze to heal back up. Nearly a pick onto Aspect, but he's going to be able to heal, and unfortunately Goblin's forced to translocate away once again. A large bagel, the first elimination. Guac will fall as well. Kel maybe looking for a kill with the remech, not able to get it. But already 45 seconds burned off the clock for Boise State. Another Cryo Freeze committed here by Plato. They're just trying to buy as much time as possible for the rest of the team to reestablish themselves underneath, and they'll burn a minute off on that close hole.
Yeah, North Texas now also going into this next team fight with 4 ults practically up. Nano's going to get charged very quickly with Alias at 70% for that grab, whereas Boise State just has Asu with that amplification matrix. Have to see if that will pay off. Plato's at that 67% for his Blizzard. He might be able to get that in this fight if he does enough damage. Aspect using the duplicate onto the Reinhardt, able to get the Shatter. Hawkins have to pop the tire as well as Joe Nanos. Aqua's still not using the Primal Rage, not falling low enough health. We're going to see a second Shatter come out with the EMP coming out from Goblin. Asu does die before he's able to use the Amplification Matrix. And as the team wipe comes out for North Texas.
Yeah, unfortunately that did not work very well for Boise State. They did manage to burn about 2 minutes on the clock, and They're at least going to get Goblin to swap over after you got that EMP off, and they should potentially have one more contest. You can see the red silhouettes down there. They will indeed get one more recontest off as Missile's going to commit that Valkyrie. There's still a grab and a Primal Rage up for North Texas. And Matrix goes down. Primal Rage used by Aqua. He's trying to do as much as he can on the back line. He's taking out an Immortality field before he gets gunned down. Blizzard comes out right on top of the payload from Plato, as the teams will trade overall 2 for 2. Goblin with that Pulse Bomb. Doesn't have to use it quite yet as Aspect gets taken out. And Boise State finally commits the Pulse Bomb. Hawkins will go down, and the Broncos have held, and now North Texas is only going to have 2 more chances here to keep this game alive.
Yeah, Boise State definitely looking a lot better going into this next fight, having that sound barrier up and self-destruct right behind it, whereas North Texas now swapping off, going over to the McCree, losing that ult percentage on the Junkrat he was prior. We're also going to see a little change up on the side of Boise State. Guac going over to the Winston and Plato going over to the Ash. We're going to see an early elimination onto Goblin from Aspect. They're now dominating the skies with that Echo. A little quick tank brawl up top as Kel is able to farm up that self-destruct. Plato's already back up to 25% for Bob as well. We're going to see the self-destruct come out, try to get one of those backline members, and it manages to get 2 with it, both onto Aspect and Alias, losing that tank and DPS role, trying to put as much pressure onto that Mercy as he can, trying to deny the res, as Kale loses the mech, trying to get away as fast as he can, and Joe able to take that out for him. Valkyrie's coming online for North Texas as well as Duplicate, and Primal's right behind that. Little brawl still going on here. No one's getting close to point. With 26 seconds remaining, North Texas has to push through this Boise State defense now if they want to be able to get it. With a stick on the Pulse Bomb right onto Aqua's face, but he's able to just tank it through with both healers on him. We're going to see Valkyrie and the Duplicate come out for North Texas, with Primal Rage immediately being activated. Primal Rage both times, and double kill onto Asu and Plato. It seems North Texas pushed right through and is going to have to stay on this cart if they want to be able to take it, as the cart was pushed back. Boise State definitely going to have to go into full stall unless they want to just give it up.
And they have the, oh, no, never mind. It looks like with them going off the Lucio, they might just give it up, but it looks like Plato and Guac are at least going to try and contest here. Deadeye's going to come out from Hawkins. Not able to find much value. Immortality field thrown down from Asu. He gets the Matrix down before he's taken out. Unfortunately, Guac will fall. Plato is able to get at least 1. Alias gets taken out. A double kill for Plato with the dynamite. And just like that, Boise State's turned it. And North Texas, I don't know if they weren't expecting the recontest or just weren't ready for it. And Boise State forces them off, and they'll put themselves on championship point as we go to game number 4.
Yeah, they really brought it back in the end. Plato with that dynamite, not having that diva to even eat it up, definitely hurt them in the long run. And Asu throwing down the amplification matrix also helped a ton. Helped boost his damage right outside the door, boosting even the dynamite damage. Really solidified that final point, losing 2 members right off the bat at the start of that fight. But they brought it back, and they're bringing us to match point in this finale.
See if we can get a Boise State win against Bryant Stratton. The Broncos were on match point in game 4 and kind of got run over on Numbani and ended up having to go to a game 5. We'll see if North Texas has it in them. Remember, Boise State won this in the regular season 3-1, and so far we've followed that script to a T with the Broncos up 2-1. We'll go to hybrid. It's North Texas's choice. So far, 3-0 for the team that has picked the map, and we'll see if that can continue here with North Texas and which of the hybrid maps they're going to want to pick. We've seen Numbani. You know, Kings Row is always an option as well, though.
Yeah, Kings Row is also an option. In the past, we've also had Blizzard World come up for a couple teams, so we may see a return of that. We have yet to see Eichenwald. I can hope and I can pray, but it will never happen.
We've seen it sparingly. Kind of ranks up there with Blizzard World as the, you know, sort of third choice. But it will be Kings Row as the pick for North Texas. Curious to see how Boise State plans on defending this, as their strat that had left teams just absolutely confused and bewildered earlier in the season has started to crack and been figured out quite quickly. So maybe Boise State has something new up their sleeve. We didn't get to see this, as we mentioned. We went to Numbani with Bryant Stratton, and it's game 4. Boise State, North Texas. Boise State has a chance to be a champion here in the Play versus Overwatch Finals. North Texas looking to get us to a game 5. Boise State will come out with both teams, at least for now, Flash and a Bastion.
Yeah, Bastion on both sides, actually. No Symmetra, so no Statue of Liberty so far. At least you don't want to see that, and especially in this high-level play. We see it on the side of the orange teams in their side of the tournament, but not here. People are too smart for that. So you have to wait and see what their plan is. The Ash hopefully is going to be able to get a couple picks right out the gate with so many members already all the way up top. Hopefully she is looking for that, as they don't have any member on their side to counter it. We are going to see Aspect swap over the Symmetra to get the early teleport out front for their team. Maybe they're even going to swap off of it. Have to wait and see, but it doesn't look like they are. They're going in as fast as they can right into this Bastion Orisa. They try to swap over. We see the teleporter right up top going right in their face for the Brawl comp that North Texas has felt most comfortable with. Quick little hello from us as Bastion is able to take out the Immortality, and Kel is able to answer that onto Joe. We did see Goblin have to jump down from that top ledge to try to cover his butt, as we see a large bagel able to help him out and eliminate Hawkins. And it looks like North Texas is stuck up top right now, surrounded by members of Boise State. We're going to see Goblin try to hold off their spawn the best he can and just burn them down with his Bastion damage, as Plato's throwing as much dynamite as he can. We see a lot of the health on the side of the tanks from North Texas is very low. Asu already taking out that Immortality field being thrown out by Joe. And we're already at a reset.
And Boise State does a great job on that first hold. Hawkins now, unfortunately, this is exactly what Boise State wanted. They want to keep him separated from the team. They'll take out Aspect as well, which will allow maybe a teleporter regain here from North Texas as the rest of the team waiting. Asu does get taken out. Aspect, though, will swap over to the Hanzo. Plato will fall as well. The remaining members of North Texas trying to get as much value as they can. Alias can't quite find anything onto a large bagel. Goblin getting a ton of value in that tank form. Immediately spots out Hawkins, but a great arrow from Aspect takes him down right before he can activate that tank form. Now it's up to the last two members of Boise State to hold as long as possible. Unfortunately, I don't think that they're going to be able to, and Boise State will just simply give them the payload and they'll hold back and reset.
Yeah, and sadly Goblin did have to give up that tank form as they are swapping off to this close hold as the cart spawns. We're going to see the return of the Doomfist as the rest of the members stick to their guns with the rest. We do see 3 ults on the side of Boise State as the Bongo is popped very early on. Both Deadeye and Soundberry come out from the side of North Texas to counter that Bongo. So we see a double elimination for the side of North Texas, and Kale only able to answer on an elimination with Aqua. We do see Bob eliminated, so it did come out from the side of Boise State, but sadly no value was there. We're going to see the Diva Bomb come out from the side of North Texas and able to pick up a large bagel, so Kel's going to answer with his own and eliminate Joe. So these supports not surviving these Diva Bombs, as Asu is able to take out the Baby Diva, and then Hawkins takes out Kel. Plato, Guac, and Asu are able to get a triple for their team and stop this push pretty early on as they regroup.
That was a great job there by Boise State, able to use the Diva Bomb to separate the team, and Hawkins kind of going chasing onto Kel. Did not help North Texas, who now has a Roadhog, making his second appearance of the night in these Play Versus tournament. Championship game here. Boise State on match point, the best of 5. As Large Bagel has the Soundberry. Bob immediately gets called in. Ant Matrix is thrown down. Walker used the Fortify to be able to sustain, and Joe will just burn through Bob, who was not aware that an Ant Matrix went down. He did not line of sight it. Goblin gets taken out. Soundbarrier from a large bagel going to be committed. The health bars on North Texas quite low. Immortality Field's going to keep him alive, but just for a brief moment. Boise State drift through 3. Aspect will go down as well. Missile and Alias trying to stay alive. Alias gets taken out, and that Baby D was going to be staggered for just a bit. If Boise State will wait, got to be careful on that remech. And they're going to take her out right as she uses it.
Can't play with your food for too long, and not having a barrier on the side of North Texas definitely hurt them in the long run, as they immediately swap back over to that Reinhardt, and now Aspect swapping over to the Reaper. Constantly losing that ult percentage is going to cost them dearly, as going into this next fight, they only have the Deadeye and possibly Sound Barrier if they can get it fast enough. Boise State has the self-destruct. They're going to use their Amplification Matrix going right into it, but North Texas is just going to line aside it. They're also going to have the Bongo. Maybe you see that come out. We're going to see the Self-Destruct come out for Boise State right in that corner. Meteor Strike coming online for Goblin as well. He's going to fall right before he can use it to Alias. Alias is able to take out that Immortality Field, so no Mortality Field for either side, as Aqua is able to eliminate Kel, both out of Mech and Baby Diva. And then Hawkins and Aspect clean up the rest of the Boise State team, so it looks like they're going to get the payload.
Yeah, unfortunately for Boise State, they just couldn't quite get that Meteor Strike off from Goblin. Still sitting on it right now as North Texas makes the final push to point number 2. Boise State with a triple ults on the line. North Texas with just 2, but the shatter should be up for Aqua in this fight. Boise State looks like they want to contest this, but a great Ant Matrix there on the payload from Joe to keep it moving and prevent it a little more for Boise State from being able to line of sight. They'll contest just 2 meters away. Meteor Strike committed by Goblin. Can't find any value. Jumps right down. Double shatter comes out from Aqua. Diva Bomb from Alias gets the bongo. And the Immortality Field burned through. Now North Texas has lost 3. Including both of their tanks, and that should send their DPS and their lone support running for the hills as Boise State gets the respawn. And Ace with that Ant Matrix means they should have 1 more contest as well in their favor.
Yeah, and we see Aspect getting close to that Death Blossom. Hawkins with that Deadeye once again. Hopefully he'll get an elimination with it this time, as he has now been very consistent with it in the past. A large Bale getting close to that Sound Barrier. Cal close to the self-destruct. It's really going to come down to, can that Ant Matrix get value rather than just get line of sight, as with only 50 seconds remaining, North Texas has to go pretty rush onto this cart. We're going to see both Deadeye and Death Blossom come out. Yeah, only 1 elimination for the side of Death Blossom onto Guac. So now with no tanks, Boise State definitely has to back up, losing both supports. Both Goblin and Plato definitely playing on their back foot here, with Goblin just stuck behind, staying still, accepts his death, goes back for the respawn, and maybe a possible hero swap here.
Unfortunately, a large bagel was just about 1 or 2 seconds too late getting that sound barrier on the line. It was at 99% when Aspect committed that Death Blossom, and if it's up, it might be a different story. Instead, Boise State will have to defend for 2 more minutes, as now Diva Bomb comes flying in from Cal in on the back line. Aqua not able to turn around in time. It gets 1. Bob's going to pick up 3. And Boise State, those were the ults they needed just moments ago. They'll delay Alias as long as possible, finally take him out. He'll sort of jump off the edge as well, and that's a great start for Boise State, but now they've only got the sound barrier up while North Texas has 3 ults.
Yeah, North Texas definitely been getting their ults as fast as they can. Now with Goblin behind up top, kind of split off from Astumia, able to teleport behind, as Boise State pushing them back into their spawn, no less. Trying to get as much ult percentage as they can for this upcoming fight. Asu already back up to 70% on that amplification matrix. Try to get that as quickly as he can, with Alias at 67% for his self-destruct, trying to get Goblin back as quick as he can, but he's going to fall to Aqua. So a large bagel has to pop his sound barrier, and so will North Texas with their own. We're going to see the amplification matrix and the Deadeye come out from the side of North Texas. Hawkins able to pick up 2 onto both tanks with his Deadeye. So now with no tanks, Boise State's definitely going to have to play further back, not able to answer the Rhine and the Diva in their face. Aqua and Hawkins able to get 2 more for them, and they're pushing the car a lot further into the spawn of Boise State, so they got to pull this back together with no ults here.
Good news for Boise State. They are going to be able to get a recontest, and Goblin gets a great pick onto Joe. Still have to worry about that Death Blossom bow, and they really don't have a way to answer it, as Alias able to boot Goblin right off the edge. Bob will get called in from Plato, and Bob's able to get 1 onto Aqua. Still have to watch out for that Death Blossom, but Bob is going to shut it down. Alias is going to try and throw out a Hail Mary Diva Bomb, not able to get anything but an Immortality Field. Kel will use his own Diva Bomb, as well as a Shatter picking up a kill, and Boise State, as soon as they take down Alias, should be able to hold here. They got to be careful, though. Aspect, if he can get in there on that Reaper with that Death Blossom, just not quite able to. Aqua charging in just a few seconds too late, and Boise State will hold, and they'll give themselves a chance to win it in regulation and pick up the title.
Yeah, North Texas simply just ran out of time there. They got stalled out way too much, way too consistently. They kind of paid too much attention to Goblin when he was up top above them, not even having Death Blossom at the time. They were able to eliminate him as he was running back, and then both sound barriers and the amplification matrix was committed. They did have the ult advantage, but once he had Death Blossom, you got to protect that president, because he is your win condition at that point. So now Boise State on the attack has to see what North Texas is going to use for their defense here.
Boise State with a chance here to pick up a play versus championship. The Broncos, as an esports organization, going for 6 championships in 6 days. So far, they are 2 for 4, with the Boise Williams picking up 2 in Madden. And unfortunately, the Rocket League teams and Valorant teams falling just short in the NECC. Boise State Overwatch has a chance in the NECC, have been told with a program update that will be covered on a later date, which good news for the Boise State players with how many games they've already played today. So they will get a chance of a breather, but a win here guarantees at least 50% of those 6 championships will reside for Boise State here, and they're trying to get it done right here on Kings Row and avoid a winner-take-all game number 5.
Yeah, they don't even have to push the car all the way. They just got to push it about like 95% of the way. So I'll have to see and wait if they can pull that off as we see a more of the traditional attack squad on this map with Plato on the May this time and Goblin on the McCree. We're going to see a exact mirror match from the side of North Texas on the defense. Great Maywall coming out, but sadly they were quickly breaking it through and splitting up both sides. Both Immortality Matrixes, both stuns coming out. This mirror match is just a favorite of both these teams, it seems, as Alias and Aspect are able to take out Guac and Goblin. So it seems Boise State's just going to simply reset.
Yeah, unfortunately, they got the freeze on to Aqua, couldn't quite do it. Both McCree stunned each other. You saw Hawkins was a sliver of HP. Goblin tried to fan the hammer, wasn't quite able to get it, and he'll swap over to that Reaper and break the mirror. And hopefully it's not 7 years bad luck for Boise State, as this would be the worst time to take it. As they try and find a way around this statue. They still have the Maywall if they want to use it. Maywall comes out, not able to sandwich anyone. They are able to get Aqua on the wrong side of the wall. Immortality Field does go down, as well as an Ant Matrix, both Asu and Joe. And both teams will just simply line of sight the increased damage. Joe very close to being taken out by those icicles. Asu finally gets a pick with a great headshot. Another Maywall goes down, trying to sandwich the remaining members of North Texas, as Aspect has that Blizzard, and Boise State's got to be careful. Freeze goes on to Kelly, tried to get away, couldn't quite do it. It's Goblin, great pick on to Hawkins. Aspect will go down as well, and now with no DPS left for North Texas, me and Green are going to have to probably retreat. The sound barrier from Missile canceled as it was cast, and that's going to be huge going forward. Not only does Boise State get the Blizzard here to cap the payload, that sound barrier reset for Missile is probably the worst thing that could have happened.
Yeah, Boise State really played that very well and very tightly close together. As we see in the past, they were a bit looser, and now they're definitely bringing it back together when the championship is on the line for this play versus tournament. North Texas now going into this next fight with 4 ults to Boise State's 1 with that Shatter. Maybe Death Blossom and Sound Barrier can be farmed before this engagement starts, but we'll just have to wait and see, as one member of Boise State is currently behind enemy lines. I believe that is Goblin on the Reaper. We'll have to see if Shatter is able to land. We're going to see a great Maywall able to isolate Aqua, but the Immortality Field comes out. Goblin's able to get a cheeky pick onto Hawkins in the back line. Aqua takes out Goblin. In the front line, Alias follows that up with an elimination on Asu. We're going to see the Death Blossom come out from Goblin and unable to eliminate a single member of the North Texas team, getting taken out by Aspect. Alias is going to pop his Diva Bomb and take out a large bagel, with Kel answering with his own, unable to get anyone as they just line of sight it. They quickly burn him out of his mech, and as he dives in trying to lose his life, it looks like Boise State's going to have to go for the reset here.
And Boise State also committing that last-ditch shatter there from Guac, not able to find any value. So both sides still with 3 ults up. But unfortunately for Boise State, they just used all 3 of theirs. You can see all in the single digits, though Goblin is over there farming as much as he can in on the back line, as an Ant Matrix will go down. It's almost canceled out by Plato's own Maywall. Ant Matrix comes down from Joe as well. Blizzard, though, will be used by Plato. Unfortunately, it was eaten there by Alias. Sound Barrier comes out from a large bagel, only lands onto 2 members for Boise State, him and his fellow support Asu. That's not going to matter, as Boise State will pick up 3. Alias now running for the hills, very low on life. We'll get stopped there, and they'll be immediately take down that Diva. So even with the Blizzard being eaten and the Sound Barrier onto 2, Boise State picks up the win, and they'll keep pushing along.
Yeah, North Texas now going into this next fight with both Blizzard, Sound Barrier, and possibly a self-destruct on the way. Boise State having no answer for any of those. I see this next team fight hopefully going towards North Texas, but if they can get some early picks, hopefully onto that Lucio, it should definitely be their fight, as they can just eat the Blizzard. It's going to definitely rely on Kel, as Goblin's once again going in the backline with 50% on his ult. We're going to see Sound Barrier come out immediately. Same with the Blizzard not being able to get eaten, as Kel is in the backline with Goblin. We're going to see Musil able to take out Guac with Alias right behind him, taking out Plato. They're trying to turn around and take out Goblin, as Hawkins and Aqua take out 2 more. Aqua finishing it up. It's down to Goblin, essentially a team wipe for them.
Good news for Boise State is they got multiple of those ults out of the way, the Blizzard and the Sound Barrier, and you see now it's Boise State with the huge ult advantage as the fan the hammers popped on the Goblin. They'll have 2, if not 4, in this next fight, with the Shatter and the Ant Matrix coming online very soon. North Texas will have their Ant Matrix and maybe a Deadeye, and for sure a Diva Bomb, so we'll be curious to see if either team's able to get huge value out of the Ant Matrix. Both teams have done a good job line of sighting it for the most part. Kel looking for an opportunity for a great Diva Bomb. Going to commit it. Blizzard will come down as well as that Death Blossom. And it's a Diva Bomb that picks up 2 plus the Immortality Field. And that allows Boise State to clean wipe the rest of North Texas. They immediately take down Alias. And they're going to push right along to the second point. And they're going to give themselves a chance here to pick up the championship.
Yeah, Boise State committed 3 ults to that fight, maybe even 4. And now, just with Guac having that shatter, it's going to come down to how many ults can he deny from the side of North Texas, having 4 going into this next fight. No support ults on their side this time. Aspect right behind them with that Blizzard at 66%. Pushing the cart as fast as they can. They definitely have the time advantage compared to when North Texas was this far. We're going to see Deadeye come out and not any value on that. We're going to see Shatter come out and no eliminations came from it. Yet a large bagel is able to eliminate Aqua. We're going to see the Diva Bomb come out in the back line and get no value other than just zoning. A large bagel gets another elimination on an Aspect. But then Hawkins answers with a double kill onto both DPSs of Boise State, with Alias getting a kill onto Kel with his Calm Mech ability.
And that recent buff to 250 damage on the Calm Mech has definitely caught some players off guard. We also saw Large Bagel commit that sound barrier onto 3 to try and extend the fight for Boise State. Kind of gives one back, as we saw that happen earlier with Missile, who now has his sound barrier up, and Boise State's got 1:45 on the clock to pick themselves up a championship. They've only got an Amp Matrix so far to do it, and there's multiple ults for North Texas that are online, and 2 more, both for Hawkins and Aspect, that are coming right up. But a Maywall comes down right out of the cryo freeze. They get a huge pick. The sound barrier is only going to go on to 4 for Missile. Joe holding on to that Amp Matrix, forced to commit the Immortality Field. Boise State will burn through it. Hawkins is the next target. Joe will go down as well, so will Missile. Alias falls, and Boise State's going to push. They're going to put 4 on the cart for max speed. But North Texas should get 1 more recontest here, with a championship on the line and the ults favoring the Mina Green. They've just got to make sure they don't get caught off. Huge Maywall there. Aspect's going to put down a Maywall of his own. Huge Shatter comes out from Guac to stop the Deadeye. Blizzard gets eaten by Kel as well. Boise State playing their absolute hearts out right now. 1.68 meters from a championship. Plato gets his own Blizzard down right on top of the payload. Aspect and Alias both going to get frozen. And North Texas just absolutely line of sights themselves. And Boise State is your play versus champions.
Boise State put it all out there for that final map. It was Kings Row. There was their comfort pick no matter what. And eating that Blizzard definitely secured that final victory, as North Texas simply had nothing left in their kit after that. Blizzard was the one zoning thing that they needed, and Kel was on top of it. And then, as you mentioned, that huge Shatter came in and canceled out the Deadeye in case it was able to pick off some members of Boise State, but Boise State pulled it out.
Yeah, and then the Blizzard from Plato forced North Texas to run away, and unfortunately, being frozen is awful, but being alive and watching your championship dreams come to an end is even worse. Don't forget, the Idaho Army National Guard is a proud supporter of Boise State Esports. They bring you the top 5 plays that you see at the end of every match, and they invite you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time, with more than 10 jobs offering a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is the best team out there. Reach out on Twitch at iGuard Gaming. Boise State picks up their 3rd championship of the week. This time, it's the Boise State Overwatch team. They were undefeated all season. They nearly got a huge upset from Bryant Stratton in the semifinals, but they take care of business against North Texas. A 3-1 win, and it's a championship for the Boise State Overwatch team.
Yeah, good on them. We'll have to see how they play in the NECC finals when that is casted at a later date. Hopefully they're able to take that other championship and get us above that 50% mark, as you mentioned. So hopefully we can see that and cast it and have some good times. With that being a best of 7, it will definitely be a long fatigue game. Thankfully they'll get their rest, and hopefully they'll come at it back with their best. But moving on to the player of the game, it's a tough choice. We saw a lot of good plays from a lot of players in this, and especially from Plato on that May in the final fight. He was able to get Aqua caught out a lot of times. Same with Goblin. He was in the back line disrupting his Reaper as much as he can, pulling their attention back and splitting them up. But I'm still got to give it to Plato. He got it last game, and I think he deserves it this one too.
Yeah, man, I think the Boise State tanks as well with Guac and Kel definitely had their moments, as Kel getting several eliminations with the Diva Bomb. I mean, of course, eating that Blizzard is probably the biggest play, and also a huge shatter there from Guac. So really, all 6 players are deserving. I think you're right, though. It probably goes to one of the DPS, and I would not be shocked if Plato picks up his 2nd, but it will actually be one of the Boise State tanks. It'll be Guac who picks up that, and this was an absolutely huge play on Watch Point Gibraltar. An insane solo play as Boise State was kind of getting stalled out there, and he makes a great play to open things up and allow Boise State to cap. So Guac, he's the player of the game, and the Tanks get some much-needed love in the championship as Guac absolutely huge in Boise State picking up this win.
Yeah, Guac won a lot of those 1v1s when North Texas was constantly just throwing him with a mirror match, and he was definitely the dominative Winston in that situation. And same with the Ryan. He had that huge shatter at the end, as you mentioned, canceling out that Deadeye. So he was that front line that the Boise State needed, and he won it out for him.
Congratulations to Guac. He's the player of the game, brought to you by Idaho Central Credit Union. He's a great player, makes the team more successful, just like Idaho Central's helping their members achieve financial success in the 3-1 win in the championship of Play Versus. It's Guac who's the ICCU player of the game, and a great finish to the season for Boise State. As you mentioned, the NECC championship against UC Santa Cruz pushed back, and that best of 7 should be a ton of fun. Much like in Play Versus, Boise State undefeated the whole season, so cannot wait to see how that championship goes out in a rematch as well, and it's the 1 and 2 seed once again, so cannot wait for it. Right now. Boise State could celebrate this championship here. The Overwatch team gets one done. They still got another one left too. The Mountain West regular season is only halfway done, and that's the championship I think Boise State wants the most, but we'll have to wait quite a while to get that one. But a huge congratulations to Boise State. They pick up the Play Versus championship, and for now we will leave you with our Idaho Army National Guard top 5 plays. And Army National Guard invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time. More than 10 jobs offering a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. They're the best team out there, maybe besides Boise State coming off a championship. Reach out on Twitch at iGuard Gaming, and here are your top 5 plays for the Play Versus championship for Boise State. It's Control, it's Nepal, it's game 1 of the Play Versus championship. The 1 seed and the 2 seed, Boise State, UNT. UNT wants revenge, Boise State wants the perfect season. Couldn't quite do it as Goblin. Great pick on to Hawkins. Aspect will go down as well, and now with no DPS left for North Texas, Me and Green are going to have to probably retreat. The sound barrier from Missile canceled as it was cast, and that's going to be huge going forward. Not only does Boise State get the Blizzard here to cap the payload, that sound barrier reset for Missile is probably the worst thing that could have happened.
A little bit further back, Amplification Matrix now just comes up with Plato and Asu getting 2 eliminations onto Missile and Aspect, with Alias only able to take out Guac, but then Kel is able to take out Aqua with Plato getting a double onto Joe and Alias. Goblin then getting revenge onto Hawkins, and just like that, they won the team fight, and it's a team wipe.
On championship point as we go to game number 4.
Yeah, they really brought it back in the end. Plato with that Dynamite, not having that Diva to even eat it up, definitely hurt them in the long run, and Asu throwing down the Amplification Matrix also helped a ton. Helped boost his damage right outside the door, boosting even the Dynamite damage.
The back line, Aqua not able to turn around in time. It gets 1. Bob's going to pick up 3. And Boise State, those were the ults they needed just moments ago. They'll delay Alias as long as possible, finally take him out. He'll sort of jump off the edge as well, and that's a great start for Boise State, but now they've only got the sound barrier up while North Texas has 3 ults. And they're quite close to a Death Blossom as Goblin was right behind. Aspect saw him, but just a little too late. Deadeye does take down a large bagel, so no sound barrier up for Boise State. Goblin forced to commit the Wraith form, will get at least 1 as a huge 5-man shatter comes out from Guac. He lands a huge one onto Aqua. It's a Ryan diff, and it's a Boise State win.